And we are live. Tonight we are very much late because of me as usual. I really suck with timing. Belfast burns. We shall cover article first and then we will cover a lot of videos, well a lot. Two videos mostly, but it's the content for tonight. Belfast burns. Let's talk about it. Let's get into the first thing. What's up with
So
that?
let me explain to people. So Ireland is about as peaceful as an Irish car bomb. It's actually a real drink. I had the joke about this with Multi. I go, "Are you sure stabbing crime in Ireland? That's just a normal weekend.
I
Rioting is a
I
normal weekend."
I
No,
laughed
it's a
at it.
joke. It's a joke aside because if you don't know anything about the Irish are very, especially Northern Ireland, are
They don't take no crap.
I
Uh, Dragon, I think you're cutting off if you speak. But we had someone that in the street in the daylight tried to
I need to
take
make
off
sure
the
the
head of
audio
someone
is
else,
with audio.
and
I'm hearing audio.
that triggered a lot of riots. Belfast is burning because of that.
No, it's not a riot. It was one particular riot. They pick a street. So last year was it was a mini riot done. So the Irish, this is Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland is a hodgepodge mix. So last year they did a riot because a Romanian gypsy essayed a girl. And they weren't really happy
You
about
got
it.
it right. So it's really disgusting. And
There
that
and
goes
then
back,
another year before that,
Dragon. That goes back to accept the third world, become the third world. That's a
so
great catchphrase.
so basically, well, they were having about 3 years ago Armenian troubles. So 2 years ago, they had another mini riot. 5 years ago, they had another riot for over Brexit. So you're talking about yearly that the crowds unironically fight a lot. So it's and what happens is they pick a street traditionally, except sometimes they're very different because Irish unrest, it's not like the UK can really crack down on them because they really couldn't cleanse the IRA fully because you have to know the history of Ireland. The IRA in Northern Ireland always has political unrest. So the trick is when the initial last year, 37 hotels were burned in Northern Ireland. In Ireland,
That's
a
crazy.
lot of it there was a program. It's not necessarily a program. There was a gap in security. Now, a
But
lot of
hey, I gotta say, Dragon. They all say we are compatible, right? Right?
okay, this is the UK we're talking about. Look, the problem with the UK, right? Hello, Gimmo. Sorry, you. So the idea of the UK. So Scotland is very docile compared to the Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland is not a foreign to violence. The Troubles, the IRA, the Irish Mafia, you name it. Now, it's highly organized. Before we get to the riots that happen, these happen periodically. So, sporadically last year, the Irish had enough and
And again,
they burned
they had enough because a kid, a girl, I can't remember her
no,
age,
last
but
year
she was
was the
essayed.
no, one riot, last year was earlier last year, but the attack to get the hotels was because they started shipping migrants and immigrants to the hotels. I could probably find that story. That was later last year. They so the UK government moved them to flats or houses. Now, there is a part to this riot which is breaking barriers, which approaches white nationalist lines. This one, which is it's the Irish want to kick out almost all non-Irish. Now, realistically, the Irish aren't as xenophobic as the Japanese, but
Nice cocktail.
actually, you don't know. Most people don't know. The Japanese actually have to be a more open society. They're very xenophobic. That's
Yeah.
basically
They like their tourists, but they don't like foreigner like taking a house and living with them. Like
they have to
they like
actually
tourists, but they don't like
no, well,
foreigners.
technically they're more in debt now than ever, but they actually have to because by breeding standards and child standards, the Japanese family is barely at a 1
It's
fertility
worse
rate.
than the rest of the
They're
West.
at technically 0.84. So one of the ones is, but see, Northern Ireland has a national pride part section to it, and there's always young people that rise up. This happens about once every year. Now, after the migrant crimes and the exposing of the grooming gangs, that's when they went after the hotels. And usually you only find anything in the UK about when something is sentenced. Like before we started, UK sentenced a 21-year-old man, still looks like a child, because he bullied an American into Minecrafting himself to 6 years, which
Wow.
is a fair sentence, by the way. I mean, technically, in the States, online bullying should be a lot more of a crime, but it's really hard to prove unless there's isolated e-harassment cases. See, the UK can be based once in a while. Can be.
Sometimes.
But the thing is, the Irish, like, so the full map is there was this section. Now, a lot of this is, and I say graphic warning because so the people walked out to a man nearly having his head sawed off. Okay? Now,
Just go back a little bit higher. We gotta read the headline. So
uh,
rioters target migrant homes in Belfast and burn properties, cars, and buses in night of free over asylum seeker knife attack. So
there
that
were two
describes
nights,
very
so
well.
there was
Let me continue on that. So what they leave out of it is they actually attacked a lot of place with immigrants because they wanted to send a message. And just before that, they told people to get the F out so nobody would die or get injured. So they really did a lot of destruction, but they didn't really do casualties per se. They just did lots of property destruction. And again, it was following some crazy asylum seeker that almost cut off clean the head of someone to try to
mm,
remain
so
YouTube
you're
friendly.
seeing like here where the hotel and the street is. So you get the idea. This is the guy who was attacked. He lost an eye. He was still in critical condition. Now, just so you know, he was a Somali man who tried to be. So when you see like these flat houses,
Yeah,
now these this is not the most richest area. It's more about sending a statement than anything else. The difference between the actual Irish. And okay, so how do I put this? Arabs, when they go Allah Akbar and blow people up or stab people, they're trying to bring glory to God and that. In Somali or African culture, if you maim an individual, it's a mark of shame. They also believe if you mutilate the body, they go to the afterlife, they are mutilated spiritually.
That's crazy.
You
And again,
most
again, again, I must reiterate, this is not the behavior of someone that's um that's well fit to be part of civil society of the Western
so
world.
there's the part where you import the third world, you become the third world.
Yeah.
So the thing in and here's a story on this guy. There's a very conflicting story. I've talked about this with Sorter on my channel.
Hopefully YouTube won't block that.
It's censored.
Oh
The
yeah,
blood is
but
censored.
still, like, it's
So the
crazy.
concept is someone walked out and he bought like so people walked up, he had mutilated the guy, and then it's the other. Now, realistically, they said he was Sudanese. He is not Sudanese.
Yeah. The camera is not that great, but
he was torturing him.
yeah. And again, it doesn't belong in Western society. I'm sorry, but that kind of behavior.
Now he was being whacked with like a cricket mallet.
Yeah. I really hope the guy gets what he deserves, to be
The
honest.
funny part is they arrested him on a I should find the story. They arrested him on the potential of potentially stabbing someone.
You send the person in jail and you throw away the key. If that monster is an animal, treat him as such. You
So
don't
he
let the tiger out.
so he basically came through Africa, came through this Morocco, through France to the UK. As I said before, part of Ireland, they don't talk about it. There's a docile part of Ireland, and there's a more militant.
Extreme?
Yes. Look up the term Irish car bombs and the IRA and the Troubles. That's all you need to know. So, the IRA in its extremes are very 12 cops were injured, by the way.
That's a lot.
See,
Did they send to jail whoever did that?
They don't know who. The problem
Wow.
is
Incompetence.
no. Here's the problem. Civil unrest in Ireland, they may catch the people. By injured, they were throwing. This wasn't a protest like in the UK. They were throwing rocks. This is somewhere when they do this, they send the message. So a lot of these little townhomes, they had moved migrants to. They got them out of the hotels. Now, interesting enough, a lot of the government has their official statement. It's not like they don't know who the foreigners are on these streets. And if you know anything about the history of the Irish Mafia, they're in Northern Ireland too. So a lot of this is unknown to this day. You ask why people just sit and watch. because they don't have. You have to understand, Northern Ireland is. They want to make these people out to be extremists. They really aren't. Most of them are
Well, I
young.
I think a lot of them are actually extremists, but at some point, even the government, I'd say the European government is extremist as well. Uh, and
The
it's
problem
extremist because
is
they go too far with their policies. And
so
Canada, it's the same deal.
so here's like one article. Like there's several you have to look at different. A savage knife attack in Northern Ireland streets set off 2 nights of fiery riots stoked by anti-migrant rhetoric.
Because
This
migrants are behind all of that chaos.
2 years ago they had issues with Armenian migrants stealing sheep and honey out of fields because they have a
Is that
high.
civilized? Is that civilized?
They steal them for
It's
the
freaking
meat to kill them.
middle-aged behavior.
Yeah, they
It's
because
like
in
these
the country.
people still live in the 50s or
So
the
no, because
1500s.
in the countryside, they don't have really high fences, but it's high trust society. So
Until immigrant shows up and steals sheeps.
it sounds weird. So they had an issue with these Armenians coming over and stealing sheep to butcher them or use them for rituals. Uh it's one of those things. It's very UK. There's a part of the stories they haven't really
They don't
said.
assimilate because the
Uh,
government doesn't want the people to assimilate because the government want chaos because chaos
Actually,
is the
the
people.
problem is
Let me
Armenians.
finish. The
Yes.
people, when there's chaos, they tend to not think about the government and they are just occupied just surviving. So that's why the UK is like, oh, we will let these crazies out and who cares if our citizens die? That's all the government think. That's why they don't give a crap.
So here's where I have to correct the story. The suspect is a 30-year-old Sudanese man who had claimed asylum. That's a lie. He got in. There's a bus route that runs between the UK, lower UK, and Ireland that they don't check. Even a journalist checked it this last week.
Wow.
It's advertised on TikTok.
What is on TikTok? You know it's no longer a secret.
So protests over the attack flared violence in Belfast and several other areas. Masked men set fires to home they would believe to house migrants. They did. Torched a bus and pelted police with rocks and other items. The government said there was more than 24 people lost their homes and 12 officers were injured in what the Northern Ireland Security Secretary Hilary Benn said on Thursday, called racist thuggery.
I won't lie. I feel sorry for these cops just doing their job and getting injured. And that may be very different from what I said last week, but that was a very different context, I believe. And
You're just not dealing. I said Irish are built differently. Irish are so
they are so unhinged. I like it.
the thing is
I wish Canadian were like that.
So
really.
you not really, because the trick about this is a little bit when I said the history of the Troubles, the IRA, the history with the Irish Mafia. You guys, what people don't get about Northern Ireland, Ireland is peaceful, but don't think it's scenic entirely because they are a. See, if liberals have a dimmer switch, Irish have this switch that flips. It's more of what the conservatives have in the US. Conservatives are very peaceful till they have enough and they blow up. It sounds weird. It's like a flip gets. And then what happens, as you see with the Belfast riots, they just go back to being civil. Like, it's one of those things of, yeah, they give you the courtesy warning. We're going to go through this block. You can get off the street. But one video that I found, it wasn't as good. They gave them till like 5 or 6:30, the local neighborhood said, businesses, you might want to close your businesses early. There's going to be a mass demonstration. They literally put it
Wow!
up a day, like a morning of.
But if they
And
are like that, why didn't the cops stop him?
uh, the flyer was put up in the morning. Business owners saw it.
Oh,
And
I see.
they, here's the thing about it, UK police know about this. But the problem is, it's like going to the area that's controlled by the underworld, and you don't have the
Ireland,
power
Ireland,
to.
Ireland is freaking the underworld. Are you telling me this?
Ireland has. Because remember I told you about the troubles?
It's like Mad Max, bro. It's like,
Okay, you
you
laugh
don't go
about this.
there.
You laugh about this, but there is the IRA, which is legendarily known for violence, that the UK could never stamp out fully. Uh, Literally, they have to make peace with the IRA, which unironically still exists. It sounds weird. It's like the actual Irish mafia still controls, call it the underworld organization, so to speak. Organized crime is big in the UK, is bigger in Ireland.
So
Scotland.
Mad Max was just a little bit before its time.
So the thing about this is normally the violence is kept. So generally, if there's a riot, those cops are, even though you see the cops in the video, they have more body armor than the usual cops. That doesn't help. That it's they when they got pelted with rocks and other things, that's why they got injured. They had to
Wow.
break out water cannons. You're talking about street brawlers that, yes, Irish, this is the trick. Usually, even when the hotels were being burned, the police stood by and were hoping it didn't spread. You think I'm joking because I have to go
I
find,
love the Irish
because
people.
this is really,
You,
it's
you
one
know
of
what?
those ones.
I think Ireland is my favorite European region. I love them now.
They're very based until you get into
I mean, if the
uh
cops are scared of them, this is
well,
how
for
it
the
should be.
no, no, for
I'm
for
sorry, but this is when the people have the true power.
so here's the thing. The reason why violence in Ireland does occasionally go, they the cops aren't basically the cops are not authorized to carry guns. See, like in the US when we have riot police, this stuff doesn't fly. Like, prime example, the case of Carmelo Anthony that just happened this last week in Texas, not far from a town where the other side of north central Texas, up north of Dallas. All these organizations outside were hoping for race riots. That doesn't happen here in Texas. Do you know why?
I don't.
SWAT teams would be right up under your ass before you think.
Really?
We would not. So outside the courthouse, they had SWAT as well as riot police ready.
Wow. You know what?
So if anyone wanted to try a BLM riot, and they don't
This is
care,
law and order, folks.
Texas doesn't. It's one of those ones they won't shoot to kill, they will use rubber bullets. But see, in the case of like places like New Jersey, where they had ICE riots recently, or Portland,
Yeah.
the trick is the masses can attempt to overwhelm the police, but there's a reason our police is a little bit militarized because when you have to fight, this is just US policing. People in the ghettos are armed with automatic weapons.
Oh my,
So,
really?
so when you go
Crazy.
to the other south side of Chicago to go raid a drug house, there's a good chance there's an automatic rifle on the other side of that door.
Wow.
You don't, this is the side they don't tell people. So our cops do have automatic weapons for reasons. You know, there is over policing. The problem in Ireland, they don't have the riot police like they do. There is, that's even though they have banned guns in the UK, knife crime and physical assaults that are at all-time high.
So people will still find a way. Like, if you don't take violence seriously, they don't care. They will find a way. Like, I'm sorry to break this down to a lot of people that think we are better than animals. We are not.
Nope.
Like, we are freaking animals. The only difference is some of us have a conscience while others don't really. I mean, like, we had someone trying to cut off someone's head, and that triggered the riots we are talking about
He
right
got bashed
now.
in the
So
head with a cricket mallet. Something, it's like a mallet with like a round thing on the head. That's what he
a
got
rock
hit with.
can be turned into a freaking weapon. A pencil can really hurt badly. So again, ban every weapon you want. If you don't
So,
take violence seriously,
yeah.
they don't
So,
care.
yeah. So, Holdy, Hadi Alodid
We can't
used a
even
kitchen
pronounce the
knife.
name. I don't think it's British.
Yes. Sorry, I put a butcher it. Used a kitchen knife to blind Stephen Olive.
Is that
Olive.
Irish?
Yes.
Okay, at least we
Ogle,
got we
it's
got a Irish
Ogilvy.
victim with a foreigner.
Stephen Ogilvy. Ogilvy.
Oh, okay. Ogilvy, I see.
In the left eye and carved deep wounds into his head, face, and back. Luckily, it was a kitchen knife, not a machete.
Hello, so now we are talking about very graphic things about crazy
Every
people
warning of the
running
other.
wild.
So, graphic footage of the stabbing was out. Alodid was treated for a hand wound and threatened to kill a radiologist.
Wow. Folks, this is what you want in your country? Is this your civilized folks?
There's a whole story to this man. The story they didn't tell the outside people once they started digging into how he got up there. I've killed someone. I don't know if they are dead, Alodid told the staff, according to the detective he spoke to. By the way, there was a story that said he was arrested on suspicion of murder.
The same guy that tried to cut off someone else?
Yep.
Are
Official
you kidding
headline.
me?
I'll have to find that. It's very.
Are
He
you
did not.
kidding me?
He
So
entered.
you're telling me that guy has a past, and now there's actual proof that he is insane.
He literally
So
said
if
this to the cops.
so they handcuff that person, and hopefully they will throw that person in a cell, and you throw away the key. And once he's free, you send him back.
No,
Send him back.
No, so what's going to happen is usually how the UK system works is the only reason anyone found out about the thing last week was because of a sentencing. That thing about the kid that bullied the kid and killed himself over Discord video was only found out because of a sentencing. So that's a story too. But that's part for it. Alodid did not enter a plea during his court appearance Wednesday and was ordered to be held until his next hearing. No shit.
That guy is a freaking animal. Again, if you are dealing with a wild animal like that,
I mean,
you send it in a cage, you throw away the key, and eventually, if you feel like that animal had a miserable enough life, you can free it and send it back to its country. So if it's still dangerous, it can actually harm something else than your fellow citizen. Again, I take that person if there's proof he has a past. I don't care if his victim survived. I do care about a massive punishment about the monster that did that, because
Yeah.
poor victim. Like, even if the guy that almost got his head chopped survived, even if he survives, I'm sure we will have consequence on the poor guy. Well, the monster is wild again.
So part of this story, I'll have to correct it after I get done with it. But this is part of it is I use AP and Reuters because they're usually a bit better than the others, unless you can't. Officials aghast at the crime urged protesters to maintain civility, order and civility. I have that video. Dressed in black hoods and threw bricks and rocks and stones at the police, glass bottles, very sharp objects, other metal items as well. Trash bins, burned vehicles and homes. When the attack happened Monday night, we knew this was coming. Forgive me, I am not good with African names.
It's usual Tuesdays, and I will say this: even if we speak about a monster that's godly awful, I know not every immigrants are like that. But
No.
the big issue, if 1% of them is like that, you should have maximum punishment. And I'm not thinking about like
The
capital punishment, but like Troy the key. This is where they belong, in jail, and then you deport them. But again, I speak as someone. My wife is immigrant. I love her dearly. She is amazing, and I know not every immigrant is like that. But reality is, most of these immigrants that don't integrate and that are extremists in their own ways, they will be dangerous for your society, and this is what we need to stop. It's the 1% we need to crack down so hard on them that they will think twice before creating chaos in our streets. But
so he,
of course, the liberal mind is let them loose and let them make chaos. It's
I
fine.
need to find the clip that Carl played. It was two scholars talking about something years ago that's very much so. To Tawasul Muhammad, a Sudanese refugee who helped refugees forced from their home Tuesday, said, "Everyone is terrified. We are keeping our kids at home." Violence flared again Wednesday through though a smaller scale. Police blasted water cannons at the protesters outside Belfast to hold them back. Hunks of stone thrown at them had been garden walls and patios. Two officers in Carrickfergus were injured by fire bombs. Politicians from both sides, which is a power sharing government. The violence is reminiscent of violence that swept over 2 years ago after a teen killed three teen girls and seriously wounded 10 people. That is the one that Adolescence is based on, the Somali kid that they tried it. Then Netflix turned it into the white kid being an incel, but it was really a black kid, black Somali kid.
Why am I not surprised?
That's this
Again,
attack here. The Belfast, and I told you about the Romanian gypsy who did an SA attack. There was a riot last year around this time last year.
it's not normal. I'm sorry, but like, I admire Ireland people, but I think the government is stupid. There's no other word. Like, it's not normal to have that many riots in a so-called civilized country. I'd expect that from some of these Middle East countries that keep throwing rocks at gays, or I expect that to a lot of the African countries, because there's still a lot of African countries that are shit all. Let's be honest with it. So I expect that kind of stuff happening in these countries, not in Ireland, not in a freaking
And I,
Western country.
I forgive you. You're Canadian. You know nothing about soccer hooligans or football hooligans.
Oh, I've seen Paris being turned
Did
to
you see the
gravel.
thing in Paris? This
Yeah, I was
football
shocked.
hooligans
I was like,
exist. I hate to.
bruh, no, 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 no. I've seen it, and I was like, no, I can't believe it. It's
Do you
worse
don't
than
know anything about football hooligans?
like
I
like
got
like.
to tell you, this is
I,
World Cup time, baby.
I will tell you this, like 30-ish years old, a little bit more than that, when the Canadian won the cup, like in the 90s. I can't remember when exactly, but when they won, there was riots in Canada, but like that's the only time I remember having riots outside of like during the time where the independentists went crazy to try to like overthrow Ottawa. But like in our history, we may have like three riot stops, and
Yes.
it all happened like 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Like I don't remember any risk. Oh, actually, I do remember there was another big riot at the J20 in 2010, I believe, with
Yeah.
in Toronto. And it's funny because that riot was anti-cops, so that was the left creating mayhem. But again, this is rare. Canada has
I'm
riots.
just saying hooligan riots aren't foreign. There's a reason in Warhammer orcs, if you know anything about the orcs in 40k, as a species and a race in 40k, they're based on football hooligans from the 80s. But the Belfast riot broke out. Protesters in southern city of Southampton over the sentencing of the fable. That was the one last week we covered. All three crimes featured black or Asian suspects, and the victims were white. The victims of the families are called for peace. There's a line to this that I'm going to say this. I'm gonna
Why
have
is it the victims that ask for peace?
let
That
me
should be the immigrant that creates that
let
chaos
me
and
okay,
mayhem.
there's a part to this. There's something you have to understand. They were called, and other factors were also playing to whipping up anger. Now, part of this is there is an actual case. There's an organization that works with the federal government of the UK, the more the federal and the state. It is a PR department. I forget what they're called. Sargon's talked about them. They work with the victims and they work with the cops when anything goes wrong. It's a PR department that limit the potential backlash. And in the US, we have a similar thing, but it's not as militant as the UK. Like, that's why after everything that's happened in the UK for like the last year, there's been a universal statement drafted by this organization. They come in, they immediately squelch most news, or they try to get the community violence down to a degree. And it's been low key keeping civil unrest. So a lot of times out in the UK, when something happens, you will see these officials. It's like ODP or something like that. This particular organization, and it's a massive PR firm for the government. And they work with the families of violence as well as that. So they wind up handling the crimes and the fallout from behind the scenes. Now, disagree with it because it is too heavy handed? Yes. But they've been working overtime with all the migrant violence and the grooming gang cases that came out. So there's also unrest in the cops because there was something I was going to pull, but it's an hour with people from trigonometry talking to the with the guy who has TDS and Constantine. Francis heard because the police detective who couldn't do it because he still has it was under a gag order and couldn't speak. He said what the UK needs is ice style roundups.
You know what?
Francis
You know
Francis
what?
had
I want you to download it, and we will cover parts of it, not the entire thing,
it's
but
an hour.
yeah, again, download it, and we will cover parts of it because I do think it's relevant.
You should actually see Francis's face after he says we need ice style raids to round up migrants in the
Again,
UK.
Dragon, download this. We will
Fine, I'll
cover
get
that
to it.
last.
So there's an attitude in the country. They're like, we don't want it to be known.
Yeah.
So, like, this is a case of Vikram Digwa. He's the one from last week. Now, Nigel Farage has been trying to get. There's a whole big little mini election.
So
Now,
again, Dragon, download the trigonometry video
yes,
you told me about. Download it right now. We will cover it right after.
I'll get it after. Yes, I can use multiple things.
So let's continue the article because that article is very interesting.
This is probably what it. Reaction to the stabbings reflect a broader rise in anti-immigrant sentiment.
Force people to deal with people that don't want to integrate. This is what you are getting.
Fueled by anti-immigration immigrant sentiment in parts of the government and basically UK and Europe. Let's not forget, currently in the UK, there's about 5 million Jews. Currently, guess how many Muslims there are to those Jews?
2 or 3 times that number.
5 or 6.
Oh my!
Literally.
And a lot of these folks, they don't mix up well together. Am I right on that?
So yes. So guess what's also in the rise in the UK? Anti-Semitism.
Wow.
So when you have a Muslim population that outweighs a Jewish population by 5 or 6, on a good estimate.
Do you know, like, I'm really wondering what makes the left believe it's a good idea, first of all, and second, truly, like, deeply, I'm wondering to all of these so-called progressive, the leftist mind, I am wondering, like, don't you see some parallel between the Muslim behavior toward the Jewish and freaking Hitler? And they tend to side with the freaking Muslim that want to eradicate the Jewish.
So here's the thing, I'd have to play it as part of, I do have it saved, but it's a longer part, when Tommy Robinson talked to Glenn Beck. Tommy Robinson is from a town that had very little Muslim activity at one point. Then a bunch of Muslim people moved in. You had 1, let's say 2 mosques. Then eventually, after a couple of years, there were 40 mosques.
Wow.
Guess what started happening?
More violence.
His little town became known as the terrorism capital of the UK. Planning violence all through the UK.
I'm sorry, folks, but when a town like that has that name and recognition, when people think of a town, oh yeah, that's the terror town. Folks, there's something broken in your system, and all of these people you wanted in your country, they don't integrate, they don't assimilate, they actually want to take over. It's
Um.
awful. It's disgusting,
So if
and
people,
it's coming into Canada. But hey, let's
so
let's have open
this is a
border policies,
longer. It's
folks.
a stream. I'd have to get multi to sit and react to it because it's a video from it. And when Tommy Robinson first became a political activist, he came because he had other people from his group, which were like not all white. There was like blacks, there was Indians, and people who had been in the UK. He started getting opposed by a Pakistani mafia group that was starting to gain control in the town. Now, unfortunately, this hasn't gotten much better in the UK. They don't talk about this
Of
because
course they don't. I know why they don't. They don't do that because it's admitting their policies of open border don't work. They only create more chaos. Of course they won't admit it.
so
I
what's
it's
see what's
crazy.
not helping this is protesters have called for action. See, the only reason we learned about the global community learned more about the Nowak case was because it got out to Twitter.
And this
Yeah,
is also why Starmer the dictator truly wants to ban social media.
yes.
It's it's sickening. It's sickening. People like Starmer, I just cannot stand these people. Like
So
usually I'm someone that says uh, every lives matter. I think more about that, and I'm wondering if that statement is
I'm not
true.
going to entirely say the Irish way. See, Musk has tweeted over this about this. It's getting to the U.S. Starmer's been losing council seats recently. Um,
You
said
should be in
online.
jail, and you should throw away the key.
See, Mark. See, this is what's weird. The London Head said online misinformation right at the center of the challenges
You
of
know, the
public.
left they call misinformation anything they don't like because they
Yes,
hold the truth. That's their truth
they
that
can't.
matter.
The thing is, the UK government hid the grooming gang scandal. So, like, the UK has been slowly simmering for a very long time with the grooming gang scandal and other parts. Uh, some blame open borders between Ireland and Northern Ireland. Some political figures pointed out largely an open border between Northern Ireland, which is part of the UK, and the Republic of Ireland. The suspect arrived in Dublin from Paris before heading north.
And again, I want to really say that to drive it home. I think the UK has so many bad policies and belief. I think at their core, the government in every institution, based on what I know and what I've seen and what I've heard, I think the UK is cooked. It's driven by monsters that don't mind the chaos and that will rather censor people than actually giving people freedom and that's actually giving a safe environment. They really enjoy chaos and they really enjoy controlling population in a way that the population cannot speak ill of King Starmer or whatever is in power at that point. But they can go at each other throat. That's fine. That's fine in the
Actually,
flesh.
no, they pulled out, they wanted out, they did Brexit because they didn't want the Muslim migrants, that the violence that plagued Germany and France and
But
Europe.
it's speaking the UK now.
But here's the part, they had their own when now under Brexit.
And
So
you
what
got
people
Starmer that says let's undo Brexit.
so here's the part that people do not understand. This is why I understand more European politics, but I do not share their politics.
I I have so much hatred for the kind of politician that
You well,
Starmer and
how do
Carney
you
are.
hate you're all part of the Commonwealth, same with Australia. Lucky.
Australia, I don't hear as much about them. I don't like them. I think they are
Oh,
crazies.
Australia's as bad as
But
worse than you guys.
yeah, again, I don't hear enough for having as much hatred. I know it's a not case, and I know I don't want to go in Australia, but I don't hear as much about them that I do about the
So the
UK's.
problem with the Commonwealth nations is you'll see a lot of policies, as it was explained to me by an Aussie from is around Arches community, hangs around these, been around a while. I asked him about it. Why do they seem like they're similar? So because they're all Commonwealth nations. So he said the Aussies are very compliant.
Canada as well.
They're extremely compliant and willing to turn over power to the government. I have
Canada loves it. Quebec
I
is the
have
worst place for
described
that in
I've actually
Canada.
described Aus- Australia could be the world's largest open air prison. They freely elect their own wardens and their own security guards.
Sounds like Canada.
It sounds like a very bad
It's Canada.
It sounds like a very bad analogy, but then you look at the UK. The UK is also, but see, in Australia, there's a rebellious element, but there's a lot of people who are willing to sign over power. The issues with the Commonwealth government is you'll see a policy discussed in Australia, Canada, and the UK. They look at what happens at different parts of the Commonwealths, then they adapt it. Like Australia, all three places had an online safety act.
Well, before we didn't have that. It's really like Trudeau that tried to make it. It didn't work. Now Carney tries to make it, and I think this time around it will actually
So
go
you
through.
so UK passed theirs. Okay.
And they are cooked.
Australia got the social media ban for everybody under 16 and younger.
And there's more fraud since then. But I don't care.
It's not about the fraud. It's about that is how, because the UK couldn't get the social media ban on the teens, nor could Canada, but Australia got it. Now, currently, as it stands, the tech companies are fighting this because to be on YouTube, they consider YouTube, Instagram, and all of this to be part of it. But here's the thing: Twitter, Facebook, they've been fighting back and saying, we're not going to give you all the details. But they're having a hard time implementing it.
Keep doing that, Facebook and Twitter. Keep
But
doing that.
well, Twitter, the lucky part is it got still owned by Elon. Elon is not the best person.
I think Elon is a paragon of hope.
He's a paragon of hope to a degree, and he's also in. See, this is why when they talk about the open borders, there's also the sensitive, allowing free flow of peace processes largely ended decades of violence known as the Troubles. The conflict involving the Irish Republic and the British Loyalist militants and the UK security forces that left 3,600 people dead before the 1998 security peace accords. That's the Troubles that I'm talking about. That is a major history. They would firebomb and they would do all sorts of stuff. Yeah, people. It's a very, see. This is a similar article. You can kind of look at the two different articles here. This is the Daily Mail. It's kind of, so they call him a Sudanese, but he's really a Somalian. I know, confusing. He was going to be a police person. See, this is the parts where you start to see differently. The suspect last night was charged with attempted murder. So he had been granted indefinite leave to remain. Okay. See, he got stabbed in the neck, hit his eye. So here it is. The mob suggested the mob was seeking out tax-funded homes occupied by migrants. Yeah. So the thing about the bus, they call that there's a route that is a back door to Britain. Basically, if you get in, there's a security border between the UK to Ireland that they don't check it, a bus route. Growing calls, see, it's in the articles here. So they had moved a lot of these people out of the hotels and they moved them into these places. It's more personal parts about the riots. The problem is there are basically people that you got to be careful more with the Irish. They have a little bit of the white nationalism in them, and it can go to the extremes. We'll get into this. See, though violence isn't the answer, the government is not fixing it either. See, there's a part in the video here, because this is where the riots were. Okay? So the location of the attack, and they got here. This is the guy who whacked him with a stick. See, this is like a weird, like, bat, basically. Now, there is this whole thing that if people react, they could largely do it. Now, technically, we'll play this later on. This is in the queue. So, a lot of people were talking about. So, they've been sweeping this migrant violence underneath the rug. See, they called Tommy Robinson a far-right agitator and Elon Musk a far-right person as well. Musk says his platform played a role in driving civil unrest. Look, as an American, I can tell you there's autists on both sides. A lot of these people, they're like step away from the keyboards as well. But a lot of people on social media, they've just been fed up. Now, I don't know if there's a big turning point for the UK because you can't really move the government or kick the people out of power. The problem is it has the issue of you can't keep blaming X. The thing is, the UK, the movie V for Vendetta is actually more prophecy than you think. V for Vendetta, in the end, the chairman was removed by the people. But it was ultimately undone, the prime minister was, because of these actions. Now, the people rise up in a revolution and then they just remove it because it's the gunpowder revolution. That's what it's based on. Now, what we also had during this time See, they know that the northern, like Ireland, like if he links these articles, it's more detailed than the other one. But they're blaming the Irish for not securing their borders. You can't be blaming like Tommy Robinson when people are reacting. Now, here's something that also just happened during this. This was on the 13th. A 17-year-old girl was attacked.
And that's not normal, folks. We are talking about the UK, a country that. No, that's actually Ireland, but regardless, it's part of Western society, and we shouldn't be dealing with a teenager that's a 17 years old that gets attacked.
Oh yeah, you're talking about they were having peaceful machete violence in here.
It's crazy.
The thing is, what's worse is all of this is caught on camera.
And they still pretend suspected. Bruh, the camera shows everything.
So, like, when she got stabbed in the neck, I guess, like, luckily she survived. But there's, like, they have restricted access to even kitchen knives.
And that proves what I was saying earlier. It doesn't matter what weapon you freaking ban, they will find a way to get you. The dangerous, the animals, they don't give a crap. They can do it with a rock.
Will by the way, the attacker
banning rocks.
By the way, this was in another area. Officers attended and attained a 30-year-old man. You're noticing a pattern here, aren't you?
Yeah. And again, they are so vague. It's like they want to protect these people because they're immigrant. They don't want to make the immigrant look bad. It's a crime to make an immigrant look bad, right? Because we are progressive. Because we are a set of people that believe in a different type of color that we should protect them because they are victims. Yet they do the crimes, and yet they endanger the people. Yet they create chaos. And we still protect them.
So the dangers of open borders is, see, the British population in the UK, they are gotten to the point that I'll have to find what Sargon played. It was a discussion between a liberal professor and a normal sociology professor. It's a weird argument that's very dry. It comes down to you're just going to have to accept. He goes, what happens if in Birmingham people start getting replaced and other people start moving out, or migrants start basically moving in?
The new normal will be people running wild in the street and doing crimes.
The new normal. And he goes, what if these new people coming in dominate the old culture and say you can't be British? The liberal professor is starting to stumble. It's a historical, it is an old talk show thing, and it's literally what you're seeing now.
You know what, Dragon? I think we deserve it. Like the UK, they deserve it. Canada, they deserve it. Australia, they deserve it. I think these three areas, they deserve it. You know why I'm saying that? Because maybe that will bring back some common sense to the liberal mind. I think eventually when you realize you unleashed chaos, maybe you will wake up from your coma of ideology.
Do you guys still have Canadians?
We have Indian.
See, I asked this jokingly because there was a survey among people in the UK. There's this whole ad. Did you know black people are British now? There is no British identity anymore.
Justin Trudeau was saying, oh, we are a post-nationalist state.
There is no such thing.
I ate the whiff. I ate the whiff.
There is
Anyway,
a problem with globalists, and like it's happened in the UK when
throw them to the crocodile.
so
Bring
this was
back
in
the death penalty to every globalist.
was in Lancashire. Okay, so
Anyway, I think we covered a lot of ground with these articles, except if you'd like to add more. But
the idea is I'd have to like that. This is unironically in the same day, same a day or so after the fires. At
the
that
13
stand,
years old gets attacked.
yes.
Welcome to the UK, the country where chaos run
So let me
rampant.
say this: the problem not with the UK is about
Bad policies.
political correctness. See, liberalism wants ideology, right? Like you talk about.
Ideology over common sense. This the liberal mind.
So you talk about the conservatives open the borders, right, in Canada, versus to get the elected
Well,
some of
it wasn't as bad. So they started at the end of Harper just because they thought that would be an issue soon, but that was at the end. I want to reiterate that. That was like 2014, like the last year of Harper. So for eight
yeah.
years we had good immigration, and then they threw out of the window in the last year because they were like, "Oh, the liberals are running to open our borders, so let's give some
So
slack."
you've always had it. So in the UK, they want to take in the refugees. Like they had issues kind of with so they were using cheap North African labor. I know it sounds weird. Europe has been taking advantage.
It's
So
not
like
weird. I think it's pretty much based
so
because that's what they do.
US, let's say we got Canadians and we have various Latin Americans and people from southern border that provide cheaper labor. Europe has been thriving on they thought when you brought in the labor from North Africa to be work in the UK and all through Europe, they're going to be peaceful, civilized people and integrate. That's largely true for some.
The Christian, I think they integrate well because we used to be
Muslims
Christian
don't.
as well. Uh,
Muslims don't.
yeah,
So
and
they
I see
use.
a common factor there.
So my friend that's in the UK, I had to catch up with him. He was working warehouse jobs. He works with largely some white working class people, but there's also African descent workers. So you're talking cheaper labor. They get these jobs. But for security reasons in the Northern Ireland section, they moved them out of the hotels and into ghetto flats.
But be a refugee. It's safe. Anyway, let's get to a press
I would go
conference.
with the second
Directly
video.
or through the Crime Stoppers helpline.
Thank you for coming, everybody. In the earlier PSNI press conference, Assistant Chief Constable Ryan Henderson described how this morning many people would have woken to the very distressing and harrowing images of the attack in Belfast at around about 10:30 p.m. last night. My thoughts, and I know the thoughts of everybody here, are with the victim of that attack and his.
That's gaslighting at its finest because they don't care. They don't do anything. They won't fix it because it's systemic. It's part of their liberal ideology in their mind. In their mind, it's just a sad accident. It's not because of policies. It's not because people don't want to integrate. It just happens, you know?
Let me push
This
back
is
on that. No, there is a particular policy that the UK police practice. They say they don't do it, so they don't fear about being racially profiled. It's a policy that a lot of these departments have. They're bound by these bad PR agreements with HR. It kind of subtly, like in France, when the Islamists got into France, set up Sharia law communities. One of the first prices to pay was you couldn't get people in there because, oh, you're going to get these immigrants because you want the cheap labor. But here's the part, they want to practice their own. Police can't go in there. Now, you'd be accused of racism, even if there are massive around SA and grooming and raping. Now, in the UK, they've paralyzed the majority of their police departments. The police investigate, throw some of these people in jail or prison, but they are largely kept to being a political arm that has one arm tied behind their back from doing their jobs. The police, a lot of people who are actual police who give a damn, have one of their arms is tied behind their back.
And I'd say a lot of them would freaking quit because they are demoralized
A lot of
by
them
bad
have.
policies.
A
It's
lot of
bad
them
policies. So,
have.
before I play more, I will ask you again. Did you download the trigonometry one?
It's easy to get to, yes.
Yeah. So do it as we cover these two videos, because once we are done with the two videos, we are covering the trigonometry one. So, let's play more of that now.
His family. And that should be the case for everybody in Northern Ireland. The man, who's aged in his 40s, was seriously injured in that attack. I want to especially acknowledge the courage of those members of the public who ran towards danger to intervene and help the injured man, and the PSNI officers who arrived so quickly to arrest the offender.
Now, I gotta say this. Respect to the people that intervened, but that shouldn't be happening in the first place. It's crazy. That shouldn't be happening. It's a Western country. It's not like some Middle East country that's always having a fight with the neighbors. It's a Western country. We pretend we are civilized. We are not. We are not. When people need to be vigilantes because the cops are and tied behind their back, as you said, there's something systemic going on there. Systemic, as simple as that. So amazing people did amazing thing. They stopped the crazy.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with vigilante justice. Unironically, that is why the Sikhs go after the Muslim communities, because the Sikhs were, as I stated last week, they were the first, their young women were the first victims of a lot of the grooming gangs. Guess what they did? Because the government wouldn't.
I gotta respect that to some extent, but the big issue there is the government doesn't. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous when people need to take their own justice into their own hand, because the institution, the one institution that should be stepping in doesn't. It's broken. It's broken. It's middle-aged stuff. It's like an eye for an eye. It's crazy.
And I mean, what's funny is after that happened, the Sikh community, the attacks on the young girls in the Sikh community stopped. I wonder why. Majority.
So if the police did what they should do, instead of like arresting people for tweets and memes, they should be cracking down on these grooming gangs. The issue solved. If they get arrested, they won't do it. It's not rocket science, you know? Like, you don't need vigilante if you have a competent police force. But if you tell your police don't arrest them because they're Muslim, it's stupid. It's stupid. Nonsense.
I have absolutely no doubt that those members of the public saved that man's life. What we know so far: this attack happened in Kinnaird Avenue area of Belfast last night at around about 10:30 p.m. Officers arrived within a few short minutes at the scene to detain and arrest the suspect and administer first aid to the victim. Colleagues from the Northern Ireland Ambulance Service arrived a short time after. The victim was taken to hospital with significant injuries. The suspect, a man in his 30s, we now understand to be Sudanese, was arrested at the scene on suspicion of attempted murder. He remains in custody.
On the suspicion. Are you kidding me? We have eyewitnesses. I know it's PR and it's like, oh, that can impact the criminal case. But we have eyewitnesses. It's so stupid that we cannot tell a freaking bird is a bird, a duck is a duck, because the court, you know, like, that animal belongs in a cage. You throw away the key.
The problem with Western society is, okay, see, first world problems is, like, I have nothing problems with LGBT people. I have an issue with QIA plus and the gaytivists, which with their fetishes are ruining whatever it is. Now, when you look at the people, is that type of stuff is a first world problem. When you go to the third world, they don't care about that. They see it. See, one of the things that's always baffled me about liberals, and if you ever ask them, why do you support a Muslim or Islamic leaning policies?
They throw rocks at gays.
You will be thrown off a building the first time they take power or killed. So the gays for Palestine kind of thing doesn't work because they would murder you.
And put an hijabi on every woman.
No, actually, very infamous story, by the way. When the Muslim Brotherhood took over Egypt during the Arab Spring.
When they took over. So it wasn't like that before they
No,
came.
they were. They deposed the current government. They got in power during the Arab Spring.
Why is it always the Muslim?
There was a CNN reporter, very feminist. She happened to be in a crowd. She got groped and raped by men in the crowd.
Amazing, isn't it?
And basically, it left her scarred. She never wanted to go back to Egypt again. Now, this wasn't just a touching, feeling. This was actual penetration. They did this in celebration.
Wow.
So you're talking, and it's a very interesting story of a liberal double standard. They don't think these people are savages or have a savage potential. They just underestimate it. She's
Humans
like,
are freaking animals.
Basically, because, yes, this is more of an extreme case, because they know a foreign woman by Islamic law, you can enslave them and use them how you want.
If we have people like that with that mentality within Western countries, you find them, and you know what? You throw them in a cage, and you throw away.
See, the problem is when you start importing the third world, you become the third world.
Again, throw away the dinky. They don't belong in liberty. They don't deserve freedom.
And then the problem is, you're starting to get the third world, like the Somalis here.
And they will try to cut parts of you. Wow.
This time, we are not seeking anyone else in connection with what happened last night.
Of course, the camera told
What is
them
believed to be a
everything.
kitchen knife was recovered at the scene. It's my understanding
Ban the
that the
kitchen knife.
suspect was granted leave to remain in the United Kingdom on the 28th of September of 2023. Again, this is to be confirmed, but I'm informed that he made his way from Sudan to Paris at dates unknown, and from Paris he flew to Dublin at a date yet to be determined. From my current understanding, he then travelled from Dublin to Belfast by bus on the 10th of February of 2023 and claimed asylum on that date. There is no trace of this suspect on any...
3 years. Still not integrated, still not assimilated. Crazy, isn't it? That goes back to what I said. They don't want these people to be good part of our society. They want all of these people because they want the chaos these people can bring. It's sad. It's sad. They don't assimilate. And who pays the price? Not the prime minister that is in ivory tower. No, it's the little girl that the politician will pretend to protect by banning social media. Make it make sense? Make it make sense? Really? Make it make sense? To my knowledge, no social media went with a knife and tried to cut off a 17 years old throat. No, some person that wasn't well integrated with the others did. So don't blame the tools, blame the people. But it's too common sense for the liberal mind. The liberal minds, they need to embrace diversity, even if diversity can cause forms of cancers like what we are seeing with the UK. So let's play more of that now.
Of our national security databases, and he was not known to the police service of Northern Ireland. I've been in direct contact with the head of the counter-terrorism policing in the UK. At this stage, we have no information to suggest that this was terrorist-related. I do appreciate the nature of the attack.
It doesn't need to be terror-related.
Has led to speculation.
It doesn't need to. It's immigration-related because you accept anyone and you don't make any work to make them integrate and assimilate. You just tell them, come here, we have open borders, do whatever you want. And if our fellow British die from your end, that's fine. We may maybe send you in jail, maybe. But that's if we cannot prove the victim was a racist, right? The UK is so sad. It's a lost cause. Let's play more of that statement. The cops and their PR, right?
It is terrorist related. However, there is nothing to suggest that that is the case. It's still the early stages of the investigation, and if that changes, we will update you. Now, this vile attack has sent shockwaves throughout all of our communities. I want to reassure all of them that your safety is our absolute priority.
The gaslight and the lie. If that be the case, you create something like ICE. If that be the case, the politician in charge would actually make laws to stop that from happening. They would close your border and they would create a new system that tests people before letting them in to see if they can integrate, if they have the desire to integrate, or if they just come here to create chaos.
Well, the problem is when you're getting low educated or low IQ individuals, like the ones coming out for cheaper labor, you don't know what you're getting. Because in Somalia, they tracked down his actual stuff. He was going to be a police chief or police officer.
Amazing. A model citizen, folks. I want that chief of police, folks. But again, they don't care about security. If the cops tells you they care about security, in the UK, I don't think so. If a politician in the UK tells you, "Oh, I care about your safety," no, they don't. They would have other policies. They would have other laws, not whatever they are doing right now. It doesn't work. Like, I mean, just this week we had two incidents like 4 days apart. It's crazy. And I feel like we know that because of social media. Otherwise, we wouldn't know it. That's also why they want to ban it. Very clever politician, right? They want to ban the only way people can get woken up to bad policies that shouldn't be policies in the first place. So let's play more of that awful statement.
And we're engaged with those communities, with residents, and with our political parties and leaders to provide reassurance and support. There will be an increased police presence across Northern Ireland this evening and in the coming days to provide help, support and reassurance for all our communities and to keep everybody safe. There is considerable posting on social media.
Of course, of course, of course, they need to bring that in. It's so insulting. And what boggles me is the average liberal don't see the manipulation. So
It's a good PR band-aid. It's a very...
Are we really doing that? Like, Dragon, are we really blaming this on social media?
So,
no.
Okay, in the UK, that's why in the article, like Bose one says it more, they think that, and we'll get into it in the LBC segment, they think that Tommy Robinson and others radicalized these youths to do this. When I've said it's been in Northern Ireland all the time.
I will also tell you this. Again, why it's wrong for the right to be radicalized when the left is also radicalized. Like, they're not cases. Like, they have open border policies. Tell me, how is that based?
No, they believe open borders and globalism is a good thing. They believe.
But again, it's so extreme.
You believe it.
So why is the right the only side of the freaking out that doesn't have the right to be radicalized, while the left is the exact same crap, but in reverse? It's like open border, anyone can come in and do whatever, and right, for the monsters that do whatever, victims are just a number, you know.
So what it is, it's the opposite of the left in America. Basically, the Antifa people hate the police, or a lot of liberals, they'll protest. But they don't want the violence. But there is Antifa and Anonymous that will globally do violence.
Antifa is defended and praised in Canada, my friend.
Well, that's because you guys... The problem what's hurting you guys now is it's hurting people in the UK, because there's the argument right now in the UK they don't look very strong.
Of course they
Because,
don't. They have people stabbing each other in their streets.
no, they're defensively looking really bad too.
They cannot defend their track record in the UK. And that's why they want to ban social media, and that's creeping in Canada as well. They're heading that way as well. So again, so something violent happens, it's the social media fault. Right. Like 3,000 years ago, we had no social media and there was violence. 500 years ago, no social media, and yet we used to be an eye for an eye back then. So it has nothing to do with social media. Social media actually highlights the flaws of one system because people actually get to talk
If
about
used
it.
correctly.
Yeah. So again, the liberals, they disgust me. They want to ban social media because their open border don't work.
For everyone to be mindful of what they view and share online. Sharing footage risks causing further trauma to the injured man's family and loved ones, and may impact
I was about
on this
to make
investigation.
a new timestamp, but I hear that and I'm like, people need to see it. If they don't see it, they won't believe it. Like, I heard stories, right? I was like, oh, the UK, the Europe, they are stupid. Like, there's no way I'm setting foot there. But now I see videos myself of the chaos.
They're optimistic and naive.
I see for myself the chaos, and I'm like, wow, well, that was true.
When you're optimistic and naive, Multi, there's your problem. I'm going to ask you, can you recognize good and evil?
Yeah, like someone stabbing the street someone else is clearly evil. Like, there's no wonder. And something good, like someone that genuinely cares about others, like, I don't know, giving actual food, without cameras or anything, giving food to like the homeless, that kind of stuff is good. So I can see it. And when I see that cop there talking about banning social media, I think it's evil. It's bad. It's like you want to hide your flaws.
Look elsewhere. Do you remember that PR firm that I told you that is a national PR firm? They're like, well, social media is the problem because a lot of this is getting out to Twitter. The problem is the UK. Everybody else is seeing the police state that the UK is becoming and realizing it.
There's something deeply wrong with what's going on in the UK. And I think people that don't see it are just blindsided by their own ideology. Like, we don't want to turn into the UK. And Canada is turning into the UK. That's why I want to get the F out. But the UK is... I see people burning buildings. I'm like, maybe there's hope. But then I think again about all along they've been accepting that. And we got the officials that are saying, oh, let's ban freaking social media. It baffles me. These people are monsters. They are evil incarnate. No person with good intention would try to ban a way to show the truth. Simple as that. I think it's Val to try to hide the truth.
We are aware, of course, of protest activity being discussed across Northern Ireland this evening, and we continue to monitor this very carefully. And I understand that last night's attempted murder will leave people feeling enraged with emotions from fear to anger. But please, let the PS&I, let the police do their job.
They don't do it. That's why we had Sikh taking out like grooming gangs. Because the cops don't do the job there. And I will also add this. I will add this because it's so irritating and frustrating. You say don't protest. People don't like what's going on. Like I feel like when politicians and cops and officials like that, they stand up and make speeches about what people shouldn't be doing. I feel like they didn't lose enough because they dare saying that. This cop, I don't think, lost anyone. Otherwise, it wouldn't be like that. There's no empathy there. People don't protest because they want to protest. They protest because they're angry, because there's something rotten and broken in your system. They scream, they try to tell you, they try to tell the officials, they try to tell the government, they try to tell the cops, it doesn't work. We ate it. There's a boiling point. We reached it. And yet they don't give a crap. They don't care. So why should the people care about what you, little guy in white, have to say? What should they care about what King Starmer has to say? People are not being listened to. Why should they listen to you? As simple as that. As simple as that.
Job. Unfettered and undistracted by wider concerns there may be about disorder. In August 2024 and June of 2025, we saw disturbances in Northern Ireland that benefited no one. Those disturbances resulted in damage to our own communities and the criminalising of our own young people. Do not let people who know nothing about Northern Ireland impact on the behaviours of our people in Northern Ireland from afar through social media.
Start listening to the people.
The problem
It's
is
simple.
you'll see it very clear in other stuff about, I would say, how they look. They want to make the counter protesters look like pieces of shit. It's only covering up the stuff.
And it's also disgusting because it goes very well with a stupid feeling Canadian have toward populism and listening to the people. Because this is what Canada has become. This is based on what you told me and what I heard. This is what Australia has been for years now.
Australia has a compliant population,
Which is sad and always bad in a democracy. I'm sorry, but like they won't rise up if it doesn't go the way they want, and the government can do just whatever they want.
there's a part in America, like after 9/11, Americans willingly signed over a section of freedoms for the Patriot Act, which opened the door for government monitoring for a bit. But it wasn't as naive because we still have safeguards. But like Australia has a lot of people who are willing to go along to get along.
Which shouldn't be the case in a democracy. I'm sorry, but if it's like that, the government can do whatever, and you will keep electing them, and that's deeply flawed. It's really bad, and it makes some people saying, "Oh, populism is bad." It's not. It's the foundation of a functioning democracy.
Remember the actions, forgive me, of those members of the public. They truly define our society in Northern Ireland. They saved a man's life last night. Do not let the actions of that man impact on any further harm to anybody else in Northern Ireland. Let us do our job. Act responsibly. Do not let anybody be subject to any further criminal investigation because of what happened last night. Let the criminal justice course take its course. I think we're now happy to take questions.
Is it the case that this suspect was someone who came into the country as an illegal immigrant and was given legal status? And the fact that that might be the case, what would be the community reaction, do you think, to that, and the fact that they come up through the Republic? And can I also ask the ministers what they believe will be the political fallout when the current government is this situation?
So if I go first with regards to legal status. So I think lawyers will debate the legal status of this individual for weeks, months, and maybe even years to come.
To be honest, that shouldn't be the case. He tried to take a life. You tell them. You don't care if it's a seeker of whatever. Doesn't matter if he's a permanent resident. Hell, I'd even say even if he's a foreigner that doesn't have any citizenship or any form of like, he should be there. Even if he has not, even if he's illegal, you know what? You still jailed him. He belongs in a cage. Simple as that.
There was nothing to prevent that individual from coming into this country, and he sought leave to remain through his asylum application. His status when he crossed that border is still undetermined by us.
Which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. How can we take the UK seriously? If I was a British right now and I would hear that, I would be enraged. I would try to actually knock at doors and say, let's rise up. There's something deeply wrong and broken. When you cannot even figure out whether the guy should be in your country or not. He just took a life. It doesn't matter. You jail him. Throw away the key. Let him rot and die in jail.
But it's something that we'll be looking at and will come out in the fullness of time.
Yeah, I think I agree with the Chief Constable. I think that people shouldn't jump to assumptions. We don't have the full picture here, so I think that's
I don't care
important
about the
to
full
say.
picture.
I think for today, the
Jail the person. Throw away the key. That's how I need to know. He tried to end someone's life in a barbaric way. You deal with him. And I'm being generous to not say start throwing rocks at him until it bleeds out. I'm very, very gentle there. But the PR there and the people trying to say, oh, he will remain in the country. That's a dangerous animal. He doesn't deserve freedom. It's nasty to think, oh yeah, maybe we'll keep him. It's the liberal mindset is stupid. And I wish more liberal would stay around and try to hear the other side of the story each time, but they don't. They see they don't agree with what you say, they close their ears, they turn deaf, and they run away because they don't like a reality check, they don't like common sense. Someone just tried to take a life. Oh, that's fine if he stays. Crazy. The UK is crazy.
It's more of this weird acceptance of a status quo. You should see it as a Canadian, but it's a little bit different. They have a high trust society in their government because they don't think their government is wrong, because their government is so quick to bury negative responses.
It's
and
the
they
exact same
bury
in
it,
Canada.
and they bury it under parliamentary systems. Very rarely you hear about it.
The UK is a joke. That's how I view it. You guys cannot be taken seriously. And when I hear Trump taking shot at your country, keep doing that, Trump.
main focus of all of us, certainly collectively, standing here together today, is to appeal for calm. It's also to ensure that we reflect where we know people are, because I think people are feeling fearful, people are feeling angry,
Of course they do. The UK are crazy. Look at her. I'm sure she voted for Starmer thinking, oh, that's my far left savior. The UK are crazy and they cannot be trusted, and Canada is following their footstep. So sad. So sad. Belfast burns, folks.
No, it was only
People are feeling
one.
a bag of emotions about what they have witnessed over the course of yesterday evening and into this morning. But my message today is one of calm, and don't allow those people that don't care about people here to
The cops, they don't care about people. The government don't care about people. So don't come and tell me this and pretend you care, because you don't. You don't. You're willing to protect someone you don't even know their status, whether they're illegal or legal or refugee or whatever. Still view them as human being, even if they shouldn't be. They should be viewed as what they are: animals. They act like animals, then treat them like animals.
incite hatred, to incite fear. Don't allow those people who are faceless to orchestrate campaigns and on the streets. I think that is something that I would want to underline from today's press conference.
First of all, I welcome that the PSNI have communicated a significant amount of detail in relation to the man that has been arrested for this horrendous criminal offence. That is something I think that across the UK, the PSNI and other police forces have learnt. I called this morning whenever I was speaking to the Chief Constable and again in the Chamber for the maximum amount of information to be given to people, because I think people have the right to know.
And they have the right to be safe, but we all know the UK, they won't do it because they cannot be trusted. As simple as that.
In terms of the information that we have heard thus far, and I accept that there will be more details to come out, but what is clear is that this was a man that went through a number of other safe countries before he came to Northern Ireland. I was on a call just last Wednesday, a UK-wide call on immigration, and I raised both of those key issues. First of all, the issue in relation to the Irish border. We have been aware for some considerable time that there are people coming across the Irish border to claim asylum in Northern Ireland. Those people, very often, we do not know their background, we do not know the routes that they come through, and we
Yet, because it's Starmer and the globalists, I wouldn't be surprised if they accept them.
No, it's not that. It's like in the U.S., they say we have 11 million undocumented. So, like, under Biden, we let in, like, of asylum cases, just under Biden, it was like 3 million of them were Venezuelan that clogged up the courts. That's not counting the other ones we didn't know about. Really.
So it's hard to keep track. Amazing. It's I see that
Can
as
you
well.
imagine
Canada.
Can you imagine in the UK how hard it is
Yeah.
if we're having issues?
And you guys take immigration a lot more seriously than the other Westerner. It's crazy.
We do not know if they have any convictions or any history in another jurisdiction. So I raised that issue to the
I think it's deeply wrong. If you don't know about the past history of the person you bring to your country, you shouldn't be bringing that person. What if they are a terror? And you start placing bomb and blowing up your country? I know liberals, they will all stand by it and they will say, not all, not all. You need one of them to blow up a freaking city. You need one of them to do something crazy to take lives. I'm speechless. You just need one.
UK Immigration Minister as a concern and asked once again for action on that, because this is not the first time that I have raised that as well. I also raised the issue of those who come to the United Kingdom and subsequently commit offences, that the UK must be able to deport those individuals much more swiftly than they have done thus far. So both of those issues I raised last Wednesday. But I absolutely agree with others here today that what we need today...
I disagree with deporting right away, because you already struggle and you already accept anyone and you already just said, oh, we don't really know their past and whatever. So following that thought process, I think the only logical step, the only thing that makes sense is to jail them. You throw away the key. And eventually when you think you have mercy and they spent like, what, 20, 30 years because they did something crazy, then you release them and then you deport them. Now, if they come back, that's at their own risk and perils, because then, well, they know they can spend the rest of their lives in jail because they experienced it. But if you just deport someone without actual consequence and you have open borders, they'll just come back. So again, that's why I'm a firm believer that you got a crazy like that, you jail him. You jail him. And then you send them their own merry way. And if they want to come back, perfect, but at least they know if they do something wrong,
One of the leading deterrents, by the way, is self-deportation. The funniest thing about when the ICE people started going into cities, or rumors of it, you had rumors of self-deportation. So a lot of migrants would disappear or go back to Mexico or somewhere, and then they would just come back over once the ICE raids had stopped.
And that goes back to what I said.
Very open borders.
The open borders, they don't work, and deportation aren't enough. Jail them. You jail them. You throw away the key. I don't know how many times I said it tonight, but it's telling about how I feel about that. Throw away the key.
Is calm across Northern Ireland, across our communities. Any kind of disorder only serves to wreck our own communities. It doesn't serve any purpose. But I think importantly, people must know that their legitimate concerns and issues are being listened to. Politics must work for the communities we serve.
It's rich coming from her that probably voted Keir Starmer in. I think it's all cool words, but no action with it. The politician, they don't really represent the people. Not anymore. Not when you got like case like the UK.
Communities must feel that the protections that are in place are working to keep them safe. And I think that's why people are worried. That's why people are concerned tonight. And
it's because they aren't safe. It's a failing system.
UK government, and indeed here at the Assembly, we must listen and we must take action.
Well, I think it's very important that we do, as the Chief Constable suggested, and allow this police investigation to take its course.
Now, there's something else I just noticed, and that's my culture war side that just took over. There's 4 chicks and 1 guy. Let me bet the guy is the only one that voted Restore or some right-leaning party. Well, all of these ladies that speak about empathy and that kind of crap, they allow the crazies to enter the UK. Amazing. Model citizen.
It's very early in that investigation, and there will be further discussions as to how someone came to be here and so on. But irrespective of how they arrived here and what their status was when they were here, what happened last night was horrific and it was unacceptable. And the important thing now is that the police can ensure that all of their focus is on ensuring that this is felt the full force of the law, that it's brought to court and that it's properly litigated in that way. It's important that they are not distracted by other issues in the community. And that's why we're here collectively appealing for calm. We know that people are horrified. We were all
They keep having rosy and cool speeches. Again, there is no action. If they were doing the things right, people wouldn't be protesting. If they were doing something right, people would be happy. People would be happy. Simple as that. They're angry, it's because of you. They're angry because of you. Any thoughts on that, Dragon? I guess the dragon is not there, so let's play more.
all horrified. It is a frightening thing to see that unfold online in the way that we did. And of course, if you live in that community or in another community, you will be fearful that the same could happen there. And it is right that we should respond to that. But it is important that in our response, it is about protecting everyone in our community from further harm. And that requires us to do what we have had to do on so many difficult occasions before, to come together, to stay united and to work together as a community to create the kind of safe space that everyone can flourish in. And
again, that's rich from someone that's probably liberal that doesn't care about open borders that caused the issue in the first place. It's so annoying. I see these three people, these four people that spoke. I feel like they all read the same script and they were like, it's BS, but who cares? We will put it out there so we condemn people and we try to ban social media.
The problem itself with a lot of government officials is there's very much a political arm. What you see with a lot of disasters like this.
But these are cops that they shouldn't be.
These aren't all cops. One's a cop, one's a government official. Couple.
But if they all say the same thing, that means they're all on the same page and there's something broken.
There's something broken with their system.
It gives me vibes from freaking China.
They have this lockstep thing going on. You'll find it's a very common thing. Publicly, they put up the same face, but privately, they don't. But the police also know that their powers are binded. Basically, cops are fighting these grooming gangs and other criminals with one hand tied behind their backs. It sounds very weird. A lot of these authorities want to act, but some of the ones you put into power are the good little PR boys and girls. They will toe the line. But like the cops that want to do their jobs, some will stay there for the love of the game. But their hands are tied. And they can't say anything.
And again, if your cops cannot speak out because the government thinks they shouldn't be speaking out, are they really public servant, these cops? Are they really there for the people? No, they're there for the government to protect the government, which is crazy. It's something we are getting from China again, and I wouldn't be surprised if North Korea or Russia act the same way as well. They use the cops as their own milice or their own military strength and their own like iron fist.
The problem with like the UK is this is actually really still going on. They prosecute people for almost borderline thought crimes or social media crimes.
I know, I've seen it. 30% per day.
Oh, we've seen it. They talk about it, and something people find out at the conviction rates. They find out them later on. The issue is, it sounds like something you don't. They prosecute people for the equivalent of thought crimes.
I know.
More than they punish people who do SACP.
It's crazy.
or other stuff. And
Your
it's
thoughts
like,
won't hurt as many people as some crazy nutcase that does essay and all of that jam.
yeah, the grooming gang scandal was entirely swept underneath the rug.
Not to leave people feeling vulnerable. I don't want to see a repeat of this on our streets. I have raised the issue with the Home Office in the past around trafficking, both human trafficking and other trafficking across the border. I've raised it also.
Let me point something out. I realize this because I didn't pre-screen this, but let me say this. When I hear a liberal-leaning person care about human trafficking, you know what? One
They care
reason
about the traffic or
would
not the
you
traffic.
would you understand why one of the leading causes, the first of it, and this is something Republicans have tried to tell Democrats for years. You complain about sex trafficking, human trafficking, and human rights. But guess what is one of the leading causes of it or related to it? Immigration and illegal immigration.
They are the ones that get trafficked the most.
Children, young
Yeah.
girls, adults.
Illegals, because illegals are so easy to just trap into something they don't want to be trapped
And
in.
then, but these people care so much, yet they look over the trafficking of children and women. Just remember that.
Yeah, I do. But thank you for reminding everyone. It's sad. It's frustrating.
So with Jim O'Callaghan, though it is more for the Home Office to do so. But I recognise that there are challenges when you can travel freely. And what we don't want on either side of the border is to see the common travel area being exploited for ill purposes. We have been clear about that. The important thing, however, now is not to demonise any particular community, any particular group of people, or to put people at risk, because there are many people that I've spoken to already today who are fearful about whether or not they will be safe when they return home, about whether they are safe on public transport and to go about their lives and to go to work and do all the things they normally do. That can't be good either for people who have lived here all their lives or for people who have come to make this their home. So we need to create safe communities where everyone is safe, and that's why we're appealing for calm.
Folks, just to make all aware, the bell is going to go at 4:40, so we'll just keep going as long as we can. Jane, do you see?
Afternoon, everyone. Chief Constable, you know what happened last summer and previously talked about the fears and concerns about potential discontent again. In light of what happened last night, I'm worried about to our ministers. There are members of the minority and ethnic community here who are all listening to this. What can you say to reassure them that fear about potential retaliation?
So if I begin, obviously I alluded to what we've seen in 2024 and 2025. People who contribute positively to society in Northern Ireland were attacked last year and the year before. The person responsible for this vile attack is in custody. Let the criminal justice process take its course. We have got incredible communities across Northern Ireland. The challenge we face with today's online toxic nature and the inciting of...
It's not toxic. It's not toxic. Stop with this. The only reason why we talk about it is because online.
Okay, no, there's a actual perception that they believe social media is the devil, where a lot of these people you see, a lot of people they know. It's like here in America, especially in Texas. We know we got cartel members that cross the border and they're very violent. We know we got low-grade migrants who only want to come here for a temporary better life, right? Here's the low key about it. they know they have violent ones and very illegal ones that slip through. They don't know how many are there. And the fact alone, when this case happened, there was another stabbing.
Wow.
Two in a week.
Wow.
Yeah. You see the problem here?
I see a pattern.
You think that you need a little bit more screening of the people just wandering across your border willy-nilly?
Let's have terror lords. They will bring some spices. Spices? It will be spicy because of them.
Of hatred is that manifests itself by people doing things that they would not ordinarily do.
If they are angry, they'll show it to you. They don't need a tweet or some crap like that to tell them to be like that. People always add chaos. Remember during the French Revolution, was there any social media? No. And we all know how it all ended.
But the French Revolution is actually a failed revolution.
Well, it's still kind of work. They kind of kicked out the king and queens, but they replaced it with something as bad. But still, they took out kings and queens. They unleashed their people. So, even if it failed, it kind of worked at the time.
And they are incited by people who are faceless and know nothing about this brilliant, vibrant place. I said
Brilliant
earlier,
and vibrant. Are you kidding me? I see you from the outside and I'm like, it's an open sky asylum. Like, I'm not stepping foot there. And my wife is like, oh, we should go there. No, lady. I want you alive and healthy. I don't want you with your throat slit because some crazy decided they don't like black girls.
what defined Northern Ireland last night was the reaction of the neighbours of that victim in going to his aid, without any fear for their own safety. That's the Northern Ireland that I know. And I appeal again, and that's why we're all here today, for everybody who is repulsed by what happened last night to understand the person responsible is in custody. Where there are any concerns about immigration, let's have those through a political debate. Let the criminal justice process take its course. And let's just remember that all of our communities in Northern Ireland almost entirely contribute positively to this place. And don't be fooled or duped into a trap by people online inciting awful behaviour.
And just to chime with that very much, I say as First Minister to all of our migrant community that we have no tolerance for sectarianism, for hatred, for division, and to all those people out there that are stoking up tensions, particularly in that social media space, who have no care or interest in the people here but are happy to, raise tensions. I say they do not represent us. This is a society that is welcoming, that is inclusive. We are good people.
And that's the issue. People abuse that system because they know they can't get away with it. And it has nothing to do with social media.
And I said to everybody out there, I don't want to see any person living in fear. And we need to say no to racism, no to hatred, no to sectarianism that is out there in our society. What happened last night was horrific. People need to separate those things out.
Yeah, look, I think people want to have.
They pray it's an exception to a rule. But here's what Germany found out after they took in a lot of the Syrian refugees post the Syrian civil war when Assad and ISIS were fighting. These people didn't integrate, yet they would yell Allah Akbar and stab people on trains and such. It's really one of those things. It was weekly.
And it has nothing to do with social media once again.
No social media.
About immigration. I think communities are very concerned about what is happening. No community wants a dangerous person living within their community. And I do think that people are very frightened about that. That is an entirely separate debate. And I think what we're seeing very often is that frustration from people that their genuinely held concerns are not taken seriously, and there's not the action to follow up to take those issues seriously. And that does, of course, go to the heart of discussions around immigration policy, and particularly discussions around vetting as part of that process. That is entirely separate from issues here in relation to a really genuinely valued part of our community. The people who come here to make Northern Ireland their home, they work in the hospitals, they absolutely hold up our core public services. They're working in our factories and businesses right throughout Northern Ireland, and I speak to those businesses on a regular basis, and I know that they would be completely lost without those hard-working people making such a valuable contribution. Our ethnic minority community in Northern Ireland also make such a valuable contribution to our community life, our cultural life. They are part of our community. And of course, when I say that all communities should be able to feel safe, should they be walking down a street or in their own home or in their workplace, then of course that includes everyone, regardless of your race, regardless of your nationality. So my message to
regardless if you're a groomer or some monster that stabs someone, or yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We are welcoming of every sorts of monsters and animals. In the worst case scenario, we will deport them until they decide to come back with our open border. Like, who cares?
today is very clear to our ethnic minority community. You are valued. You are our community. You are part of Northern Ireland, and we will do everything that we can to protect you as well.
No,
Clearly,
to
this
protect
is
the
an
criminals.
incident where one individual was responsible. There are many dangerous individuals who live in Northern Ireland who were born here and have lived here all their lives. I grew
Not as many, because we don't hear about their stories, you know?
up at a time in this place where my accent alone would have identified me when I went abroad as a potential threat in an airport or a potential threat in a community. And we were
You're a white Karen. So no, stop lying, gaslighting, thinking people are stupid.
often abused for that. Though we shared nothing in common with those who were involved in that activity, we were all judged to be the same. I don't want that to happen to any person here because of the colour of their skin or their nationality or their background. This person is not representative of a whole community. He is an individual who should be held to account before the law.
And you should do more vetting, and you should punish harder, and
The
you
problem
should...
is you can't be an intolerant sod. If you want to
Oh
be an
yeah,
intolerant chud, you're just promoting violence.
and
Meanwhile,
hatred. Don't forget hatred. The H
meanwhile
word.
we fucked up. Code is, yeah, we may have fucked up and let this guy in, but remember, the political conservatives are still your bad enemies.
Yeah,
Weird, huh?
we should be right leaning. We should
Oh,
let
no,
the
no. They
crazies
hate
run the
Nigel.
asylum.
They hate Nigel Farage, even though a lot of the conservatives and reform people don't like Nigel Farage. They hate Tommy Robinson. They tried to literally throw him in prison. Yeah. The thing is, we just want good sheeple. Just ignore the whole violence or potential for violence.
And I will repeat what I said. They welcome and value the crazies, because at these crazies give something else than the government to talk about, you know? Like, we don't talk about, oh, Keir Starmer cracks down on civil right there. We talk about the crazy that decided to stab someone. We talk about, like, the riots that's going on, and we just pretend it has nothing to do with, like, the crazy that tried to cut off someone's head. Well. This is what's going on. We value and welcome crazy because we like it.
See, the reason why I pull this is their own government statement that it's They act like there's nothing going on. That's why in the one article, the second article, it's a longer, they literally say the far right, Farage, and all these other. Hey, but remember to vote Green Party, which wants to legalize drug use, give money away to everybody.
Like it did
Open
well in
borders.
Canada. We have more oldies than ever with our safe substance use centers.
And do all these promises. Oh, but don't address the migrant crime problem that you have, or address the migrant issue.
Address the far right, even if they never really got in power, or even if the left has been running the SNM for years now. Let's just demonize the only opposition to the crazies.
The only people who will be harmed if there is unrest on our streets are innocent people. The only thing that will be achieved is further victims. And so I'm asking for people to be calm, to be rational at a time when it is easy to be irrational, because you're hurt, you're upset and you're angry, and because there are bad faith actors who want to stir trouble. It is not in the interests of anyone in Northern Ireland for us to see our community torn apart in these instances. And I understand that many people from our ethnic minority and foreign national community will be fearful today. They have lived through previous cycles of retribution when someone who happens to be from an ethnic minority background commits a crime. We don't do this for any other group, and we must not do it when it comes to ethnic minorities. One individual doing one awful act is not representative of everyone who lives in Northern Ireland, nor should we allow it to become so. And I would appeal to people to listen to what's been said today. The guilty person, as far as the police are concerned, is in custody. The only people who will be harmed if there is unrest will be those who are innocent.
So obviously, it's been alluded to in this press conference around some of the challenges we face in Northern Ireland. We'd already continged for challenges this summer. I was fearful because of what we've seen in the last 2 years that we could see a repetition. And last night's events obviously presents a challenge to us. But by us speaking so clearly now about the negative consequences of anybody doing anything that would result in anybody else being put in any way in danger or facing any harm, I'm hoping that sanity will prevail. And in the last 2 years, we've had so many young people in Northern Ireland whose lives have changed forever because they've gone in the criminal justice system, because we've identified them, we've arrested them, and we've successfully prosecuted them for disorder. Please don't do it. But we have got the resources to deal with this. We have already made contingencies around getting support from elsewhere. This is something that we're used to here. But I again appeal to everybody to please let sanity.
We are used to chaos, and yet we speak about sanity. It's so hilarious.
Prevail. Nobody wants to see anything in this incredible place of Northern Ireland other than tranquility and people getting on together. And by the way, Northern Ireland is one of the safest places to live in the United Kingdom. Literally,
it's
almost
hilarious.
The safest place to live. So
you might be right, but basically they have a high trust society. Having a high trust society leaves you open. They say Northern Ireland is safe, except for when car bombs and physical violence is at an all-time high, as hinted by the Troubles.
It's safe except when isn't safe. I'm sorry, but like you cannot contradict yourself more than this.
It's a good PR.
And let's show that. And again, let's remember the community spirit here, which was demonstrated very clearly last night by the neighbours of this poor victim.
First Minister, you insist it was forest orders in Northern Ireland. You have watched, your party have watched violence in Dublin and in the Republic of Ireland in very similar things. Why would you insist on no felling and forest orders from the Republic of Ireland into Northern Ireland? And if you have been checked, if there have been checks, if there have been lots of these things in place, can you explain to one of your party's representatives, i.e. John Newton's constituents, why he is denying the hospitals one? Because your party insisted in forest orders inside. I must say, I do absolutely praise your two officers last night. They were amazing. But what I am here to know is that overpolicing of Scarlet and Wigan has made those communities think twice about the legal case, and I think we're the first ones to first.
Quite the monologue there, Doug, and fake news, and on the day that's in it, totally inappropriate. I don't know any country that has open borders. I believe in an immigration system that is fair and...
Are you kidding me?
Ah!
Did I just hear that?
This is where it's the lowest crock of bullshit.
No. I
Yes,
didn't hear it.
you did hear it. This is why I pulled this.
No.
They're
Do they
okay.
think people are that stupid?
There is no exact open policy, right? Just saying. But
No, I'm genuinely asking. Do they think people are that stupid? I get it. It's like I trust society, but that's stupid.
look, there is no open border policy. We just have a very leaky.
We don't vet
border.
anyone. We don't vet anyone, but yet we are not like open border.
Okay,
Make
I
it
can
make
understand
sense.
in her philosophy they're not open border because they don't think it's open border. They think we're just helping out and getting labor in here.
No.
But it's not open borders.
No.
She says there is no such thing as an open border policy.
And because I know Canada and how stupid people can be, I would be surprised if some UK folks are actually that stupid and they will trust her when she says what she said. It's fascinating. It's fascinating how much lies and how much BS they will put out there before admitting they are wrong and their way of life doesn't work. It brings chaos. It burns Belfast.
No, it only burned a section. You missed that. The problem is they say there's no such thing as open border issues.
It's the social media, folks.
It's only
not
one
the people
incident.
we don't vet.
It's only one incident, but there was another stabbing days later
with a 17 years old girl this time around. One of the few groups you'd hope the left would try to defend.
It's weekly.
Crazy.
Managed and enforceable and compassionate and human rights compliant, but that is not the debate for today.
How is it compassionate to let the crazies run your asylum?
No, you missed this. She wants compassion. Let me do this translation for you. She believes everything she's saying.
You know what my compassion leads me to? Gelling the monsters to make sure they don't hurt other people.
Or vetting them so they don't get in. Oh, and the fun fact, what a lot of these people do is they rip up their passports or throw them overboard, so they don't know where their real documents are.
Amazing. We don't have open border. It's not such. There's no such thing. We have compassion. It's fine if a little girl gets stabbed. It's fine if the other guy's bleeding out and maybe he won't recover. We have compassion. Make it racist.
The debate today is about our society, about our inclusive society,
How
our welcoming
broken your society
Our,
is,
our
sure.
conversation today is about our thoughts are very much with that gentleman who finds himself a victim of that violent and horrific attack last night. Our thoughts today are about creating calm in our society. So I think the message from here, from this platform, is very consistent, and I have no truck with your fake news.
It's fake news.
I have no truck with your fake news.
It's because I don't like it.
It's fake news.
That is?
Oh. So, yeah, let me deal with that. Listen, the PSNI is probably the most transparent, open and accountable police service that there is in the United Kingdom. I would argue on the island of Ireland. We policed Scarva at the weekend.
I also see a connecting thing where everything leads back to where it happened. It's the best, it's this, it's that, it's this. So I cannot imagine the other places if we have that happening under the watch of the best. Oh, no. What did I just hear? Do they truly believe people are that stupid? I think some are that stupid, but like, there's no way in hell people are so gullible they will entrust that messaging that's going on right now. I just don't want to accept that. I don't want to accept it.
There were no arrests, there were no injuries. And I know there's been some public concern.
What about the guy that was
policing
bleeding out that got saved by the others? It's not an injury? He almost died.
response. And we are meeting with community and political leaders to understand their perspective and to explain ours. And what we've done in recent years is show this organisation for the brilliant police service it is. You will all have watched Peelers. I appeal to you to actually think about that. The officers who will be out there tonight trying to do their best to provide community reassurance are the officers that you've seen through that television programme. Ordinary people from across the communities in Northern Ireland trying to make this a better place. We're all in this together. And we must not let other people in any way provoke any activity that we do not want in our communities. So, Scarva, we will deal with, we'll be open, we'll be transparent, and we'll listen to what people have got to say, and we'll learn if we got things wrong. But that's for another day. Today is about making sure people understand the consequences if they start to commit criminal acts, and understand the necessity to actually sit down together, work together, be together to make this a better place, and not allow that man last night who committed that crime to have any more infamy than he got from that video last night. Do not give it to him. Let's all behave ourselves.
See, this is a lie. They tell themselves
and the victim himself.
Thank you.
So it's done. Wow, that was horrendous.
Accordingly.
So I guess we are moving on to the next clip.
So here's the problem with that government.
You probably don't need me to.
Let me before I set this one up. So the problem with that statement, they think that it's government. They think the stabbing is an isolated incident. Just as a stabbing.
They don't think they want to make you believe. But I don't think they truly
they
believe
also
that.
then go on to blame the hype on social media is why people get really mad.
Of course they do.
They're
They're not
not
that
to
stupid.
find out about 2 days later, right?
Yeah.
Those riots weren't their whole riot patrol wasn't 12 officers got injured.
Yeah. So bring trigonometry. Now we covered the next one. We already covered the LPC video in the past, so I cannot wait to see that one.
This is
Tell you what unfolded on the streets of the United Kingdom last night. You can glance at a television screen to see burnt out cars and burnt out homes. It is, and it's a word that we've used before, but very, very carefully, because it's such a redolent word. It's such a resonant word. It's such a horrible word. But the word is pogrom. When people, entirely innocent people, are identified by violent, even murderous mobs, precisely because of their ethnicity or their religion or their immutable characteristics. A violent, organised riot or mob attack directed against a specific ethnic, religious or national
It's a form of protest. As much as it's dangerous, I think the Europe, they reached that point now. People need to rise and fight.
minority. I guess there's an argument to be made for this not being specific enough to qualify as a pogrom. It is simply being a foreigner or being a dark-skinned immigrant that painted a target on your back in Belfast last night, just as was the case during the Farage riots last summer, when, of course, a woman subsequently fated on stage at the Reform UK conference, literally called for a pogrom, called for people to be burnt in their beds. This morning, there is a...
Well, at that point, there's a clear issue. The politics and the cops, they don't truly take seriously. And this one happens. People get angry, they react, and is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. Who am I to judge? All I know is you should start listening to the people before it gets worse, because there's always worst.
You don't want full-blown riots, because that moment you get a full-blown riot,
it's the end.
You're going to have issues. This was a controlled riot. They gave notices.
And there were no victims based on what I heard, which is fascinating.
They burned.
It's, again, I'm a believer of peaceful protest and speaking up and winning the debates. But I think there's a point where you tried it. If it didn't work, do something else. And I think this is what we reached there in the UK. Canada is about to turn like that. If we don't vote our way out of whatever is going on with the Liberals, Canada is next. But the UK, they reached that point.
See, the issue with like the UK is, remember what I told you? The Irish have that flipped style of switch.
I wish Canadians were like that.
They would, they actually would close to basically, what are you risking? You're risking an actual more bloody riot. I don't think
actually risk a civil war.
Actually, do you remember I made this probably while you were AFK, or you had to go step away? Do you remember V for Vendetta?
Yeah.
What happened? I love
that movie.
What happened at the end of V for Vendetta? The people rose up and
they threw away the government.
They took down the guy. Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
The Europes, you are next.
They actually thought, like, that guy thought he was invincible. And you know, when they said it, like he's powerful. But one of the leading people who was around him, guess what? They hauled him off and then they killed him off sight.
Yeah.
And that is more or less, I hate to say that might be Britain's future. They're just gonna have what they think is safe. But all these government officials believe they're safe.
They're not. Remember,
Everyone,
friends, the king and queens, they thought they were untouchable.
They think they're untouchable, and nobody will ever haul them off or beat them, do anything to them.
And they will turn out in the most classy way possible.
In one of your newspapers by me, which was filed at 3:00 yesterday, and which appears under the headline, Farage's ugly new narrative will tear the UK apart, explaining how the shift from pretending to...
Okay, let me break this down. Why a counter narrative breaks down your country? Well, it's the action of the citizen of your country that caused that to happen. Don't you think it's your policies that made the country divided and break apart? Don't you think, like, if you had better policies, people wouldn't be cutting throats and people wouldn't be doing riots that turn into, like, let's burn Belfast? I think it's not war that caused that. It's truly bad policies that caused it. In having a counter narrative like Farage and Restore is just a pushback. It's just a symptom. It's just like you went too far. Here's a response.
So here's the thing, too, with this. These people that are against Farage, Farage is not the best individual. Even by American standards, it's not that we tolerate him, but we don't hate him. But even Rupert Lowe doesn't see him as a really good person, but like he's the only person,
And again, I'd say it's really a symptom of bad policies. That's why we have pushback.
Here's the thing. And if the establishment is broken, the parties are broken, they blame them.
Yeah.
Be concerned about immigration statistics to attempting to malign everybody of colour is now well underway and coming close to irreversible. Let me show you how it works, because history, of course, teaches us when you start identifying people as being a problem by dint of their ethnicity or their background rather than their behaviour.
Who did started that, Like, who started to say, oh, let's have all these people because there are other colors? It's not the right, it's the left. You started that. We just continued.
The number of aliens entering this country can be seen by the number of prosecutions in recent months. It is very difficult for the alien to escape the vigilance of the police and port authorities. Even if aliens manage to break through the defences, it is not long before they are caught and deported. And this, of course, refers to a judge speaking in 1938 about Jewish people in this country, in a courtroom in this country.
And again, they like to bring Hitler. Your loved Muslims, they are against the Jewish as well. Let's compare the both. If you truly want to bring Hitler back, I will bring an entire community that throws rocks at the Jewish. The community you do like. So we can play the game, you and I. It's not a fun game, but we can play it.
It gets worse. I'll share the rest of it with you shortly. Actually it doesn't. I can share it with you now. Whether it's aliens in 1938 or illegals in 2019 when I last brought that quote to your attention, or 2026 when I'll remind you of it now. This is not happening by accident. People are calling for it. Stephen Yaxley Lennon is in...
You know why it's not by accident? It's because the establishment and the people like you, they don't listen. You don't listen. So what do? We try something else. And apparently it does something.
So the thing is, a lot of what people don't realize is in the UK. They believe because you have a lot of sheeple-style people who aren't informed as much. Like, Sargon of Akkad doesn't want to flee, or Carl Benjamin doesn't want to flee the UK. Everyone is telling him to get out because he knows it's only a matter of time before his channel or he's attempted to be thrown in prison like Dankula was.
Yeah.
The thing is...
Oh, Dankula did jail time?
No, they tried to get Dankula for training his pug to do a Nazi salute. And then they dragged him through hell for a while. It's a very famous thing. You should look it up one day.
I don't believe that.
So Dankula, they tried to get for a hate crime and all this.
He went free from that. I mean,
this was a long time ago before the current laws.
Oh, okay, I see. Makes sense.
So his crime was teaching a pug to salute or raise his arm.
Wow.
Like, he did it as a joke. So
wow.
It was...
That's the example to follow, citizen.
This is going to make you sit bolt upright if you're not already aware of it. Stephen Yaxley Lennon is currently in Moscow with Elon Musk's father. Elon Musk's father, of course, probably best known for impregnating his own stepdaughter. And Stephen Yaxley Lennon on social media yesterday, owned by Elon Musk, calling for violence, or at least calling for riots, and Elon Musk has called for violence on the streets of our country. And violence directed not at, and I don't know what word you prefer, scumbags?
I love this, by the way. You just say he impregnated his own stepdaughter. It's like these people, if you can't beat them, incriminate them. Because I want you to listen. The reason I pull this is because this is a counter response in the state and the activists protecting the people. Molten.
Okay.
This is a response as a counter to the counter protesters. Okay?
Interesting.
It's kind of odd. Do you see how hard they go against Musk? Musk has been tweeting. Okay. Oh, that's because Musk refuses to censor the violence, the perceived violence on his platform.
Fascinating. They are the one that want censorship once again.
Not at the scumbags who have committed crimes, because nobody defends them, nobody welcomes that, nobody excuses that sort of behaviour. But you don't attack. I don't attack you because of something you've done by someone you've never met.
No, you attack someone for sleeping with his stepdaughter or something.
Don't attack your house because a criminal you've never heard of committed a crime 100 yards away yesterday. It's insane.
It's so stupid to think it's just that. It sends a message. It tells the establishment, even if it falls into deaf ear, it tells the establishment that, you know what? Maybe we will rise up and burn your country. Simple as that. That's the message. That's what's going on. It doesn't matter. Nobody got injured. But what if the next time around people get injured? Or worse? What will you say at that point? Crazy. I wish it doesn't go that way. But if the establishment doesn't listen and keep putting out the same message about being progressive and all of that jam, I don't see any other outcome than blood. It's sad to say, but that's what I think will happen. They will have blood.
What we are witnessing, absolutely insane, but it is, unfortunately, real. This is from one journalist on the ground near the Shankill Road last night. On a residential street draped in loyalist flags near Belfast Shankill Road, the masked men approached a house with a boarded-up window and a security camera stationed outside. As a woman from an ethnic minority background looked down from an upstairs window, some of the men rushed to the front door and broke it down. With the air thick with smoke from fireworks, they attacked the downstairs window with bricks. As they stormed the property, some claimed to be liberating it. Graffiti nearby demanded local homes for local.
And again, I will repeat myself. It can be worse. People can bleed out. People can be attacked. They made sure people were warned. They told people leave. There was a warning. What if next time there's no warning? Again, they don't realize what's happening in their own country because the far right.
People. A woman in the crowd said to her friend, "There's wee girls inside." Nearby, a car was set on fire. As the chaos unfolded, a man in a skull face mask told onlookers to put their phones away. Helicopters circled overhead and 2 police officers looked on from their car nearby as smoke billowed towards the sky. I'll say it again. Absolutely everybody condemns the man responsible.
And you remember the BLM riots that were burning down cities? I guess they didn't get that kind of coverage, didn't they?
For the hideous scenes that we witnessed or saw online and on our screens from Belfast. Literally nobody defends him. But if you extrapolate from him and from his behaviour conclusions about anybody else, then you might as well say that everybody in Belfast is running around wearing a skull face mask, setting fire to ethnic minority homes. That extrapolation, that collective punishment is precisely the point of...
It's a warning shot. What if the next one is not a warning shot? I just repeat myself because I feel like I need to. That guy makes everything bigger and bigger. It can get better, or I should say bigger.
Attempts to conflate criminality by one person with everybody. After the Southport killings, a crime committed by one person was somehow laid at the door of innocent people hundreds of miles away, staying in repurposed hotels. After Henry Novak was killed, the experience of Sikhs in this country worsened immeasurably almost overnight. That the attempts by people, and I don't need to keep telling you who they are, but the attempts by people to conflate a criminal with an entire community are as old as humanity itself. We saw it in...
So that goes back to what I was saying about social media. Even the guy admits we were like that before. Oh, look at that. It's not a social media fault. We were like that before. It's human nature.
Germany during the 1930s. It led to pogroms and then it led to the Holocaust. Because a pogrom, make no mistake, is simply one step on the road towards much, much worse things. Once one is allowed, the rest will follow. And speaking of Stephen Yaxley Lennon and... listen, there's no phone-in to be had about the crime itself. A, because someone's been charged, which means there's nothing we can say about it. And B, because whatever you might be reading on Elon Musk's social media, everybody...
It's hilarious. I'm telling you, history repeats itself. You have a crazy running the asylum. Guess what? They will do it again. It happened, it will happen again. And he said it himself 100 years ago it was like that. Well, look at that. Look at that. Fascinating. They don't realize kings and queens, they lost their lives. What if this time around it's the politician because they don't give a crap about the people, the pleb?
Condemns it and everybody hates it. I can even understand how a carefully cultivated position feeds into the idea that it could somehow have been prevented if we didn't allow any refugees into the country.
We are saying do better, check better, control. Don't have open borders. Because you guys have open borders. That's the issue. You let anyone in. They don't integrate, they don't assimilate. That's your issue. If you open your country to other countries, you should make sure there's a structure around the immigrant so they integrate and they assimilate. If they can't do such thing, I'm sorry, but pack your bag and leave. You're the perfect example of you will cause chaos if you don't integrate. As simple as that.
Which in a way is technically true. So I don't even have particular beef with people who've been lulled into that school of thought. I mean, it's effectively equivalent to saying we could eradicate crime altogether if we abolished human beings. Because guess what? Primary school teachers commit horrible crimes. School caretakers commit horrible crimes. Family doctors
I love this
commit horrible crimes.
allegory.
Owners of football clubs commit horrible crimes.
Oh, by the way, he brings up the priest diddling children, bringing up horrible crimes. I guess I'll cover. I'm going to let this play out, but this is the allegory that there's a lot of bad things that happen, but you can't blame an entire group.
Capricorns commit horrible crimes. Milkmen commit horrible crimes. Sagittarians commit. I mean, every single, however you choose to define a community, whether you're defining fans of Kidderminster Harriers Football Club or refugees, whatever descriptors you choose to lump us into a group, there will be people in that group who do terrible things. There will be people in just about every imaginable group. I was taught by monks for much of my school days. Some of those monks did terrible things so terrible that at my school they're no longer allowed anywhere near the boys. So all monks are paedophiles would be the logical conclusion of the kind of rhetoric that we're seeing from the usual.
Actually, I heard this. I was like, I can't think of what it's called. Sorry. Oh, God, it's one of those things I hate doing streams like this late. It's the term for, straw men. So usually when liberals are losing in an argument, they create this straw man that you can set up or find someone to blame, like social media or others, and say, oh no, this can't be real. But the thing is, you can't blame like the Catholic Church, the monks, and say like this. It's one of those things of, it's a false equivalency. It doesn't cover the problem. Because the thing is, the UK likes to think there is no civil unrest potential. Unfortunately, every time they tamp it down, it's not burning it off. Instead, when it goes off in weird ways.
Suspects today. Holmes, listen, I'm a radio phone-in host, right? Every single day I talk about the news. And in recent years, a lot of the news has been heading in a direction that all decent people find hideous. But there are some days where you just...
It's hilarious how he frames the normal people as not in agreement with your stupid open borders, because you only need to be like following his thought process or his school of thought. Only liberals are based and they know what they're thinking. They're smart. They're the smart one, and the other ones are the fringe voices. They are wrong and we are right. That's really the mindset he has. It's like we know better. Like we need to be for the open borders. Otherwise we are crazy and we don't make any sense. This is how he tries to frame it. And it's disgusting and it's very much like a liberal. It's awful.
just need to stop and repeat yourself again and again and again. Homes were set alight in the United Kingdom yesterday in apparent response to a hideous crime committed by one hideous person.
I'm going to say this. The problem I disagree with this narrative is they cease to understand this isn't just a one-off crime. This is numerous claims of grooming gangs, stabbings, everything else. Bear in mind, this was also pre the stabbing of the 17-year-old.
Yeah. And again, bad framing. I think liberals are great at bad framing. It's always, they are crazy if they don't think like me.
Homes were set alight in the United Kingdom yesterday. Homes of people who had never met the perpetrator, the alleged perpetrator. Homes of people who had never met the criminal. Homes of people who, until yesterday, like you and like me, didn't know that the perpetrator even existed, didn't know that the criminal even existed. The homes of people who couldn't have told you his name at this time yesterday and couldn't tell you his name today. Homes of people who had absolutely nothing to do with what happened in Belfast.
But here's the thing, it's a symptom of a problem. The government moved them to temporary free housing because they were having asylum status. Weird. So you have a broken immigration problem and innocent migrants who have nothing to do with it, but they're there illegally, pay a price. It's almost as if your broken immigration policy, same could be said for the U.S., by the way, trickles over into actual problems.
Yesterday, after the Southport killings, the homes, the beds, the streets, the communities of people who had absolutely nothing to do with the killings of 4 little girls in Southport were attacked.
They don't understand the message. They don't realize it's not the immigrant the issue, it's the policies, it's the government that doesn't listen. And again, maybe some liberals do think and they just play stupid so they can have the big bad right boogeyman. But again, it wasn't about the immigrant, it was about the policy, it was about the government not listening.
I will say the Belfast riots had a little bit of the white nationalist part to it because of some of the messaging of some of the people, because they're like, we want the immigrants out of Ireland. Okay. I understand. But
if the policies were not that bad, people won't have that feeling.
But here's the thing. A lot of these other protesters that they claim are bad, like the Tommy Robinson rallies, the big million-man rallies, that stuff is a rise up of peaceful people against the government system that's accepting the status quo. But the burning of the homes was a district, and it hit some foreigners' homes. I'm sure some were innocent, right?
Yeah, of course.
But it is a backlash outrage to a broken system.
Exactly.
were set fire to. The police attempting to protect civilians and citizens from a rampaging violent mob dancing to the tune of racist provocateurs, some of whom are now in Parliament. They got attacked. They got things thrown at them. The police came under attack in Southampton last week after the footage, the hideous footage emerged, the unbearable, heartbreaking footage emerged of Henry Novak being handcuffed and disbelieved by police after he had been the victim of what would quickly become a murder. But the judge and the father of the victim and the pathologist and the prosecution lawyer all laid out, for the benefit of anybody interested in knowing what happened, all laid out the facts. And then people chose to ignore the facts. People chose to expressly ignore the facts.
How rich and hypocrite from that guy. He ignores the fact that these protests were protesting the bad policies, the stupid immigration system that was set up by crazy leftoid, crazy far left policies and government.
In the hope of whipping up precisely the sort of violence that we saw in Southampton last week and that we saw in Belfast last night. This shouldn't be difficult. The person responsible for a crime is the perpetrator. Whatever you think about immigration in general or refugees in particular, the idea that they are all responsible or all to be held accountable or all to be punished for the actions of an individual.
Again, that framing is to get the feeling, because we gotta get these women to agree with our crazy ideology. Let's get them by the feeling. Poor victims, these poor immigrants that end up stabbing girls and other people, but poor immigrants, right? Bad framing.
Are ridiculous. The monster who killed Henry Novak was not an immigrant. He was no more an immigrant than Nigel Farage's children are immigrants.
That was a freaking Sikh. It was an Indian. Of course he was immigrant. Are we just straight up lying now? Wow. That's a very low blow there.
Both have an immigrant parent. The person who killed the little girls in Southport was not an immigrant. And even if he was, it wouldn't matter because it wouldn't say anything about immigration. The fact that any more than a monk says anything about all monks or a Capricorn says anything about all Capricorns. Or that story last week that I told you nobody would mention. And I wish I'd been wrong. I spend my life at the moment wishing I'd been wrong. Imagine writing an article at 3 o'clock yesterday explaining how Farage was priming the fuse, was lighting the blue touch paper for effectively pogroms in this country, and then watching the footage from Belfast last night. But the story last week about the Saudi Arabian student in Cambridge who was stabbed to death entirely unprovoked has received practically 0 column inches because the vicious killer was white and the victim was brown. But I don't draw conclusions about everybody white in Cambridge any more than I draw conclusions about everybody who takes cocaine as the perpetrator, reportedly.
But you think all of the right-leaning folks will burn down cities? All of that double speak, double standard, hilarious. Insulting to the IQ of the average viewer.
He did, which brings us back to Stephen Yaxley Lennon, who is in Russia with Elon Musk's father, praising Russia while calling for violence on the streets of the United Kingdom. Praising Russia while calling for violence on the streets of the United Kingdom. Protecting our women while hanging out with a man who impregnated his own stepdaughter twice.
Don't speak about protecting women while some of your immigrant essay ladies, because it's normal in the Middle East and in Africa. Also, they don't handle rejection very well over there. They will stab you. They will do horrible things to you. And that's why sometimes the ladies from these places, they just play along because their survival is more important. But hey, let's protect the ladies, right? Who cares if there's a savage animal on the loose? As long as it's an immigrant, that's fine.
And Elon Musk is on your social media calling for violence on the streets of Britain. Not only calling for violence on the streets of Britain, calling for unprovoked violence, explaining that if you don't
I can't do this anymore. That guy just hammer home the fact that he doesn't get what's going on, or he knows it, and he builds these straw men to stay away from the root cause, which is liberal way of thinking, is progressive way of thinking. Because I don't think it's being progressive anymore. No, it's not. You are for women's right. yet you advocate for Muslim. Do you know what Muslim do? They beat their wife. And when there's a freaking a freaking religious celebration, they split man and woman. Who wears the hijabi? The woman. Why women are the only one that hides their beauty? Because they are the slaves of the men by that twisted version of that religion. Because way back then, a long time ago, it wasn't like that. Men turn it that way. And by the way, you're all LGBTQ plus whatever. Do you realize a lot of these Muslim folks, they throw rocks at the small groups you like to pretend to protect? Again, it's crazy. They don't get it, they don't understand it, or they are too stupid to admit they are wrong from start to finish. And I've heard enough from that guy because I feel like the next few minutes will just be him being right, bad, immigration great, even if the policies around immigration suck, immigration great, stabbing, who cares? So let's go on to the next clip. It's an hour-long video,
everybody,
but we
and
won't
welcome
cover
to
the
this very
full
special
hour.
episode of
We
Trigonometry.
will only cover parts of it. We will. I don't really know a specific place I should be at, but let's place it here.
These people are, do we? We don't really know where they're from. We don't really know what their past is. We don't really know if they are who they say they are. And this case perfectly exemplifies that. And there's the reason why we've got the anger, I think, is that time and time again, people have voted against this stuff. Time and time again, people have said, look, we feel so unsafe. And the politicians are just ignoring it. And the political reaction in the immediate wake of this from the First Minister of Northern Ireland, Michelle O'Neill, was asked a question by one of our reporters about, well, you know, basically, why do you keep letting this stuff happen? And she said, today's not about that. Today is about what an inclusive and welcoming society.
It's so tone deaf, and it's fascinating how I just fell on the right spot. It's exactly what I told a few minutes ago, maybe an hour ago. I said the exact same thing. So I love that place, and I think we'll play that video there from now on, because that guy just validates what I was saying, what I was thinking earlier, and it's fascinating. I love it. Let's get into it. What's his own view on that?
Yeah, as they were literally cleaning this poor bloke's blood off the pavement outside. Actually not really. And then she caught herself and went, it's also about the victim. It's also about the victim. And it just tells you a lot about the psychology of the people in positions of power. And it is a real shocker. The other anger, sorry to prattle on here, but it's important this. The other anger is they're not doing anything about it. So less than 24 hours after it emerged that this guy had taken this route from Dublin by bus into Northern Ireland, I was able to find TikTok accounts advertising that route, still running, guaranteeing people success. A journalist from the Daily Telegraph got on one of these buses from Dublin to Northern Ireland and wrote about it in this morning's Telegraph, and there were illegal immigrants on his bus, and they weren't checked when they went across the border. And apparently the illegal immigrant got off and asked...
Wait, they didn't shake? They didn't look at some of these people that crossed illegally. But yet these people said, oh, there's no such thing as a open border. Are you kidding me? That guy is freaking right. And again, to pretend there's no open border in the UK, it's to think people are stupid enough to believe that. If you have strict regulation on immigration, you don't have that kind of stories on a weekly basis. You don't have your weekly unlucky victim of an immigrant that carries a knife. Well, most of your people are banned from using any form of weaponry, paper spray, taser, knives. People can't carry it, except if you're a Sikh, then you can do it. That person is based. All these leftists, they should hear about that. Really, they should.
The journalist, how do I get to the asylum processing centre? And you would have thought 48 hours after a bloke, bless him, has nearly lost his face and his head in the street because of this stuff, you would have thought that the authorities would actually make a stand and clamp down on this, but they're not.
They pretend they say no, there's no such thing as an open border. They said it themselves a few minutes ago, an hour ago. They said everyone, no, there's no such thing as an open border. They are in denial. They are tone deaf. They don't listen. Ideology before common sense. Ideology before let me be pragmatic. They love so much the word pragmatic, yet they are not pragmatic because they pretend there's no such thing as an open border. Well, obviously they don't even check visas or passports if they are using a bus. Great.
Not because they don't care, so people get very angry about it.
And how much of this is the authorities ignoring it, and how much of this is about the border, Patrick? Because there is effectively an open border from the Republic of Ireland to Northern Ireland. So all these illegal immigrants, they can just stream freely. They can land in the Republic and make their way north, can't they?
Yeah, so there's currently around 33,000 asylum seekers granted asylum in the Republic of Ireland who are...
And this is the folks we know about. All of the illegals we don't know about. Imagine the number. But there's no such thing as an open border. I think you're too stupid to contradict me. I love that discussion, and I think even after the stream I will watch the entire podcast. We won't do that because it's an hour long and we are already quite far in this stream, but I think it's interesting. Just being validated, I feel smarter now.
Living in accommodation, taxpayer-funded accommodation. And they're now, what the Republic of Ireland has started doing is that they have rejected roughly 81% of asylum claims in the last year, but they don't deport them. So
there's no ICE, so it doesn't matter how many of these people you flag. They don't care. They know there's no pressure. They will stay. There's no such thing as an open border. I will clip them. I will clip that all day. Tell me that again, you will deserve a good punch in your face.
What that means is that anyone who gets rejected by the Republic of Ireland knows that they can just get on a bus and go from anywhere in the Republic of Ireland across the border into Northern Ireland. And what we have done is, this is what we've been going on for years, we have deported one person from, which begs the question, what the heck did that guy do, to be fair? But we deported
there's something wrong when you deport someone and that raises a question. Now do you see that your system is clearly broken? Of course, if they are deported, there's a valid reason. Especially when you're a country like the UK that adores so much to have the third world countries taking over your soil and such things. Your institutions and such things. Crazy.
The worst bloke ever. I mean, but
either that or very unlucky.
Patrick.
Either that or very unlucky.
But this is it. It is guaranteed. So these human traffickers, if you even want to call them that, they're more like travel agents. It's a travel agency. They are absolutely correct when they tell these people, we can get you 100% access into the United Kingdom. They're spot on about it.
Peter, and I want to ask you, with your policing expertise and background, obviously, do you think part of the reason that politicians say the stupid things that Patrick just outlined whenever anything like this happens is the reality is that if you have the sort of open border that he's talking about, people like you who put on the uniform and try and go and stop crime from happening, you just can't deal with it because it adds a massive workload. And if you don't know who people are, and you can't control for certain qualities to make sure you reduce the probability of them committing these sorts of attacks, well, then the police are simply going to be picking up the pieces time and again.
Well, I'll tackle the politicians first. Let's look at who's in charge, who runs the UK at the moment. Left-leaning, socialist, call themselves progressive, woke, liberal idiots who are in.
It's hilarious. We get the same issues in Canada with liberals. Australia, they have the same issues with liberals. And apparently, even the USA with a very conservative, like a very far right government, they have the same kind of issues. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's a global disease at that point. It's crazy. It shouldn't be like that, but it is. It's the reality. It's being pragmatic.
In charge, and they won't do anything because it sticks in the back of their mouths to really grip the whole immigration issue. Can you see any of those in charge at the moment rounding people up in their thousands who don't deserve to be in the UK and shipping them out on boats, trucks, aeroplanes, whatever means necessary? No, you will not see it, but that is what the British people actually want. And in fairness to the British people, it's what they need in order to try and make this place a bit safer. Because,
and again, if you don't listen to the people and they try to vote you out and to have certain ideas, and if they tried everything they could peacefully and you didn't listen, you will have a civil unrest. As simple as that. You don't listen to the people will rise up at some point. If they are following, the people do rise up. If they get pissed enough, they do.
so many illegal migrants coming into this country are committing vicious, vile, disgusting crimes. Rest in peace, Rhiannon White, and bless all the other victims that have been created by this utter lunacy. Now we go on to policing. Well, senior police chiefs in the UK these days are as woke and as fluffy and as left-leaning and as liberal and progressive as the rancid politicians are. We've seen all this because it's come to light very recently, particularly with the tragic Henry Novak murder, when it's all been laid bare. Race action plans, inequality of outcomes. These are the brainwashing that's being carried out on British police officers so that policing is not done fairly, it's not done without fear or favour, it's done in favour of particular minority groups. So consequently, police officers are scared to police people who have got black and brown.
It's like the Nazis, they went too far right. Now the freaking Europe, they went too far left. They do the reverse of Hitler, which is as bad and as extreme as what he did. But the liberals, they don't see it as extreme. They just see it as common sense. And this is the root cause of a lot of issues. When you don't realize you have an issue, this is when the issue grows. It's like when you have a cancer, but you don't find it, therefore the cancer grows. The institution are one of the many causes of that disease. Woke institution ruin your justice system. As simple as that. You should see monsters as monsters, not as these people you don't understand. You don't need to understand the crazies. They are crazy. They belong in a cage. That's how I feel, and I'm sure a lot of people do feel that way. But if you speak like that, like I just did, you're far right. Sure, buddy, sure. I will wear that any day. I'd rather be like that because I feel like where we are at in history, this is the right side. Because it went too far. How many victims from the left? Really? How many? Too many.
brown faces, because to be tarnished or have a completely false accusation of racism made against you would be career ending, if not very, very damaging to a police career in 2020.
It's so wrong. That shouldn't be like that. That shouldn't be like that. They are freaking cops. Their job is to arrest the people that do bad things. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, yellow, pink. You did something bad, lock up. Well, there we go. Well, but no, not in the UK. In the UK, they need to make sure. Are you British? Are you born in great UK? Or are you a foreign actor? If you are a foreign actor, I will have mercy on you. I won't arrest you. I will let you take lives. It's okay. You're not from the UK. Crazy. It's lunacy, as the guy in white said.
26. That's the dreadful state we're in.
And Patrick, I want to ask you to piggyback a little bit of what Peter is talking about there, because he says, you know, our politicians who run the country now, these left-wing, progressive, woke, etc. But this guy came in during a conservative government. And in fact, a huge amount of illegal immigration happened during the previous conservative government. So isn't it even worse than what he's saying there?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, the Conservatives have got a huge amount to account for here. Obviously, if Sajid Javid had turned the first boat back in the Channel when he was Home Secretary.
Based on what I heard, the Conservative in the UK, and again, I'm not from there, so I don't know, but based on what I heard, they were not so conservative, and that's why reform and restore were created later on. It's because people didn't like conservative, and conservative, they turned liberal over the years in the UK. So that's why other parties came in. So they were only conservative in name, which is sad, but this is what they had.
I really don't think we'd be in this position, but he didn't do that, obviously. The government also went to court to get an injunction out to stop any of us here reporting on the importation of Afghan asylum seekers fleeing the Taliban a while ago. Several thousand of those.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Censorship. Once again, they clap down on the people that want to bring the truth. You cannot be on the right side of history if this is what you do. Someone that's honest, that's for the good for the people. They don't try to hide ugly things underneath the carpet the way the UK government has been doing. It's not the behaviors of someone honest.
Arrived, and we were supposedly not allowed to report on that. The only reason that ever really came to light is because, shock horror, some of them went on to commit heinous crimes, and it turned out that we might have imported relatives of the Taliban, which no one could have seen coming, could they? And also it came to light genuinely in one part of the world. I think it might have been around the Basingstoke area, but don't quote me on that, where the locals started to go, why are there so many Afghans? And then it was like, and then it just emerged. Oh, well, that's because we've secretly imported loads of them. So that was under the Tories. This guy was fast-tracked. I mean, apparently, he left Khartoum in Sudan like 2 months before the fighting. So, I mean, again, the question mark there is he even an asylum seeker? But he got fast-tracked. We saw underneath the Conservative rule as well that people who were working in the Home Office when they were dealing with asylum applications were told just approve everybody from certain countries like Afghanistan or like Eritrea, even if in the...
I'm not surprised. And again, that goes back to what we said several times in that stream. You think I am stupid when you say there's no such thing as an open border. It is. How many times we mentioned this? Just with that clip from Trigonometry. It's a plague.
Case of one bloke, he'd been arrested several times for exposing himself on a children's playground. That guy got waved through. So the Conservatives have a huge amount to answer for here. There can be no doubt about that. Specifically about Ireland, though, There is an interesting thing about the Rwanda plan, because you can go online and you can see this. People started to make little documentaries about it. The illegal migrants that had made their way to Northern Ireland had started going back to the Republic of Ireland when they thought they were going to be deported to Rwanda. And then tent cities started popping up around Dublin and a few other places in Ireland. And they did interviews with them and they said, why are you here? And they said, we don't want to go to Rwanda. Well, now the Rwanda scheme has been scrapped. And look, I don't think the Rwanda scheme was a silver bullet, don't get me wrong. But clearly it was having some form of impact there. That's gone. So now it is a complete free-for-all. So, yeah, look, I mean, the Conservatives, as far as I'm concerned, they didn't conserve anything, did they? And they are to blame for a huge amount of the situation we find ourselves in. But to Peter's point about this Labour government, you know, there's a lie from Keir Starmer.
And again, that's why they were voted out, and now they got Starmer, which is, I can say from what I know and what I've seen, Starmer is worst, which is very sad, and that's why I think they reached that point where only rising up is the last option, because you had a conservative government that wasn't conservative, and now you got a messy government you probably never wanted in the first place if you knew where they were heading at with their extremist policies. Keir Starmer censorship is extremists. Is open borders is extremist. As much as it aligns with a lot of progressive, it is far left to have no such thing as a border.
I'm going to smash the gangs. Well, you're not smashing the gangs. You can find them on TikTok, mate. I mean, the response to this attempted beheading in the street was to try to limit all of our access to social media so that we can't see these clips. There's been no attempt that I can see to limit the use of social media by human traffickers to bring illegal migrants into the UK. So, you know, there's the lies about smashing the gangs. There's all of that stuff. And Keir Starmer is a lifelong human rights lawyer who signed an anti-deportation letter to block a load of Jamaican criminals being sent back to Jamaica. He did it with a load of other Labour.
Do I need to replay it, or you get what he just said? Keir Starmer wanted criminals not deported, and he wanted these people within his country. Crazy! Don't tell me it's pragmatic. Don't tell me it's common sense. It's in the center. Don't tell me it doesn't endanger people. It's far left. It's crazy. It's unhinged. No Western society should think that way. You got a bunch of criminals. Turn them away before they do something bad in your country. Well, I think that was an enlightenment. I do love this. Link in the description below. But that was an amazing stream. I will be time stamping everything. Coming next on the channel, because now we are kind of done with this for tonight. Review Tuesday of movies. Gaming in the week, first light, and our usual reaction night is Saturdays or Fridays. This is one of these 2 days that we react to things. It depends. It goes from entertainment to pop culture, and pop culture to politics, like tonight. Thank you a lot for sticking around, and this shall not be the last. Again, I do these streams very often, usually at least once a week on Friday or Saturday. With that being said, thank you very much, everyone. I had a great time, a great discussion, and I think we had very fun videos to cover. So stay tuned for what happens next. Multi-topic talk, and I am out. Have a great one. Talk to you later.